Podmortem would like to thank Original Cinematic for sponsoring this week's episode. Original Cinematic is an independent production company that has made it their mission to create, produce, and promote films that are inclusive, honor women, promote the LGBTQIA+ community, and provide prominent positions and roles to POC actors and filmmakers, and promote the films of marginalized and underrepresented populations. These are all things that are extremely important to our podcast as well.
Original Cinematic is currently accepting scripts and treatments. Both William and Xxena Rush are also available via email or Zoom to discuss writing and provide input and resources to all aspiring writers free of charge. Their information will be made available in the show notes. There may be delays due to a hectic schedule and all projects being read on a first-come, first-served basis, but everything will be read and responded to. William Rush has individually produced numerous projects, including Pack is Here, Before, The Cottage, The Winemaker, and Day by Day. Their award-winning film Group premiered and was celebrated at multiple film festivals as well as screenings both in person and via Zoom that was graciously made available to us and our patrons.
Original Cinematic has many exciting projects on the horizon. Their next film, Immersion, has been completed. The award-winning Sweetener is in development. Fetish begins shooting in September, and Encore will begin next spring. Their documentary, Women in Conversation, is slated for a September release, and we are looking forward to each and every one of them. It is truly an honor to partner with Original Cinematic, and we can't thank them enough for their contribution to our show. And now, back to our regularly scheduled program. Salutations! Welcome to Podmortem. I'm Travis Hunter-Sayapin, joined as always by my co-hosts, my sister and my brother-in-law.
Hi, I'm Reneé Hunter-Vasquez.
Hi, I'm John Paul Vasquez.
This week, we're broadcasting live from Marsh County Memorial Hospital, discussing the 2016 cosmic horror film, The Void. This film was written and directed by Jeremy Gillespie and Stephen Kostanski. A departure from their previous collaborations, Gillespie and Kostanski sought to craft their first pure horror film together, teaming with a wide variety of influences and tinged with elements of cosmic and eldritch horror. With indelible iconography, captivating creature effects, impressive production design, and an intriguing level of ambiguity, The Void would defy its troubled production to earn critical success and attain cult status in the years since its release. This film was suggested to us by friends of the show, Guy54, Allison Regal, Half Price Horror, Itzy M, Martin Shaw, Tanner Rutgers, Beth Bauer, Halisa, Gordon Sutherland, and Scott Troutman Wise. We'd like to thank each and every one of them for their continued support of the show, as well as this suggestion. So, The Void. What were your first impressions on the film?
So this was the first time watch for me, and I'm going to be honest, I don't know if I've heard of it before or not, because it's just The Void, so it's like how, somebody's got to have said that, maybe, and it's referring to the movie around me, I don't know.
Or just A Void.
Oh, just A Void, yeah. But, again, first time watch, there was a lot of things that I enjoyed about the movie, the special effects, I guess kind of the atmosphere and what's going on like outside, and the story for me really hurted, or like trying to follow whatever was going on with the plot. I think for the most part everybody kind of did what they were supposed to do. I don't I'm in a void.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's it? He backed up.
Look, the movie I did like a lot of the special effects. Well, you know what I mean, the creatures, the creature design. But I think it was hard for me to kind of relate or latch on to any of the characters. There wasn't really anything there for me to be like, oh shit, just insert random name Rick, whatever. There, you know what I mean? It was hard to even kind of just do that, even a small anything, and then how things unfold was really confusing to me, and it was that. I stayed confused, and even when things looked good, it was like, damn, that's crazy. I don't know what the fuck's happening. And it just, you know what I mean? I kind of stayed in that, and it wasn't a good confusion. You know what I mean? 'Cause for me, there was no payoff. It was just, oh, I don't know what that means. And that's just kind of how I was left feeling.
I think that's totally fair. I have seen this once before. I know that T and I watched it when we would hang out on Tuesdays and watch movies. I remember none of it. I remembered the setting because I was like, oh, that's the one that takes place in this building, right? And he was like, yeah, that's all I remembered. Okay. Which is I feel like I may have fallen asleep because I did do that sometimes.
Right.
And I would have remembered some of the visuals from this if I had been awake. I will say that. So it was basically a fresh watch for the show. And I'll say, you know, it's not the greatest acting and performances that I've ever seen. The story does get a little, I think, ambiguous is giving it, you know, the benefit of the doubt. Because there are things that I feel like are flat out, like you were saying, confusing or don't fully gel with other parts of the story that were being told.
Yeah,
that's fair.
I think that it's hard. Not that, like, I don't really like our lead guy, which, like, I don't have to, but some of the attitudes and some of the things that he says or like callousness that he has toward things where it was kind of shocking to me in a way where it's like, this is our fucking dude. Like, I don't know. I think that for me, and I'm sure for most people, the showcase here is the practical effects. And when you have good practical effects, I'm willing to overlook a lot of other aspects. They're gorgeous.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're scary. They're gross. They look fucking fantastic. And so I watched it again today because I watched it, I don't know, a little bit ago to try to get ahead. And I was like, I'm going to watch it again. And again, that is the thing that's like, no, I would totally come back to this. And it's not for the story, which the parts that I do understand. The story is cool. Cosmic, creepy, sad. But there are a lot of parts that I also don't understand. But it's those practical effects that just completely win me over because the work is really immaculate. It looks really fucking good.
I do remember that first time that we watched it because I did not fall asleep.
Okay. Oh, well.
Yeah, well, excuse me. But I think that was my main takeaway was this is a showcase for these creature effects.
For sure.
These designs and the makeup work that they did. I think that is still what I come away with appreciating the most, which I don't think is much of a surprise because that honestly feels like the biggest intention of this film.
Yeah.
Are those creature effects. But I think I'm realizing that I do really appreciate cosmic horror and eldritch horror. I must admit, I don't really know exactly what those terms mean. I was thinking about whenever we learned in history about whenever they were trying to define obscenity in the Supreme Court and that justice was like, I don't know what it is, but I know when I see it. Yeah. And that's exactly how I feel about cosmic horror.
Okay.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
But this is, I guess, absolutely that.
Yeah.
I can't tell you what it really is. I can only tell you what it feels like.
But I think that it is kind of an unfortunate thing that the narrative doesn't necessarily work for me as much as I want it to. There are elements and motivations that I absolutely understand, and you follow them through and you see the terrifying conclusion of a good intention.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there are certain characters where their arcs are just kind of confusing because they're either left unexplained or left in such an ambiguous, like, void.
Yeah.
You know? And so it is one of those things where it's like, I know that is one of the elements of cosmic horror is this kind of horror of the unknown or the unknowable or unexplainable.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe you're taking advantage of the situation.
Yes. Yeah, I totally. And I'm a person that loves some ambiguity.
Yes.
I'm a Paul Tremblay fucking apologist, stan, whatever. I love ambiguity. and even I was disappointed.
Yeah.
I think that the final shot of this is excellent. It's very fucking good.
Yeah.
But once you get over that feeling, it's like, well, hold on, because what the hell was that?
And that is one thing I do want to mention is I think that the cinematography, there are several really, really memorable shots.
Yeah.
And just the framing of them, like there are things, and one of them is, I believe, the poster of the film that will stay with you.
Yeah.
Because it's just really cool looking, and you're like, I've never really seen anything exactly like that.
Yeah.
But I think the other thing I do appreciate about this film is how it wears its influences on its sleeve so honestly. Because there are certain elements in it and a lot of maybe the way that the story goes that call to mind Prince of Darkness a lot.
Okay.
And I know we all loved Prince of Darkness.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I think that the thing that's really puzzling to me is the narrative may not be where you want it to go exactly. But I think that they have some really, really cool lines in this film that are chilling.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's through really the mouth of one character who takes a turn we do not expect and does some pretty wild things. But all in all, I understand why this film kind of has that cult status about it.
Yeah.
Because there really is a lot to like and appreciate, especially on the technical side. Even if the performances and some of the writing don't really live up to some of that part of it.
Yeah.
I think that it is definitely one to return to. And as we'll learn when I get through the production section, this is really a tale of independent spirit on behalf of the filmmakers.
Oh, we always love that.
But before we dive into this film, I would like to talk about the production. I have a list of sources that I'm going to cite now and also throughout the episode. They include a featurette called Nightmare Logic, The Making of the Void, the director's commentary with Jeremy Gillespie and Stephen Kostanski, as well as interviews with the directors in Exclaim, Scream Magazine, Daily Grindhouse, and the Independent Horror Society.
Okay.
So the story of The Void takes us back to 2011. When Gillespie and Kostanski of the filmmaking collective Astron 6 were wrapping production on the comedy horror film Father's Day. The pair had just moved to Toronto and they were brainstorming ideas for their next feature film. It did surprise me to learn that they come from a comedy horror background mostly.
Oh.
Because there is nothing funny about The Void.
Yeah. No.
But around the same time that they're deciding to look into their next project, Gillespie is working in the art department on another project at Pinewood Studios, and it just so happens to be there that he's working a floor beneath Guillermo del Toro.
Okay.
And del Toro at the time was working on an adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's At the Mountains of Madness, and it unfortunately was canceled. And whenever I was looking into this project, it's really surprising that it was canceled, because it was being co-produced by James Cameron and planned to star Tom Cruise.
What the hell?
And Guillermo del Toro was seeking, I think it was a $200 million budget, and it was getting financed.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until, I believe, and I could be wrong because I read like 15 different things about this, he wanted to make the film R-rated. And that's whenever the studios got cold feet, and it eventually got canceled.
What?
But it was like his white whale of a project that he wanted to make. It's never going to be made. I think he said recently that it's just one of those what ifs.
Yeah.
Damn.
But it's wild to consider that.
Yeah, so not in this timeline, huh? We don't get that.
Unfortunately. But Del Toro's initial intentions with the project were something that he described as Lovecraft in a way that had never been done before. And upon hearing this got the wheels turning in Gillespie's mind. And in his attempt to imagine what that could even mean, ideas for a project of his own began to manifest. So Gillespie and Kostanski begin initial discussions of what their film could possibly look like. And they realized together that rather than follow in the footsteps of their previous comedy horror projects with Astron 6, they wanted to make something completely different, making horror the main focus. And they said their desire was to build a story around the unknowable with elements of cosmic horror so big that you couldn't even wrap your mind around it.
Okay.
Well, they accomplished
Yep.
that.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing for people who are fans of Astron 6. I have not seen their other material, but that's why that name or banner does not appear on this film, because it is so far removed from their previous projects.
Okay.
But the pair were obviously heavily influenced by the works of that scumbag piece of shit, H.P. Lovecraft. May he rest in piss.
Yeah.
The works of John Carpenter,
Okay.
specifically Prince of Darkness,
Yeah.
which I called out earlier because
Yeah.
it's so clear. But they also mentioned Twin Peaks, Stephen King, J-horror,
Okay.
Alien, Hellraiser 2,
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
and their shared love for Silent Hill.
Okay.
There are a few things that reminded me of Silent Hill.
Yeah.
For
Big
sure.
time.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just the practical effects, but I was thinking The Thing as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple of moments that are like pulled straight from it.
Yeah. But I was waiting for Hellraiser.
But although they had a lot to pull from when it came to creative works that inspired them, the pair actually started the film with little more than loose ideas, imagery, and of course the title, The Void. And Gillespie had apparently pitched Kostanski on a ton of ideas for the title, and they only settled on The Void after Kostanski repeatedly shot down Gillespie's favorite idea of Eclipse, reminding him that there was already a Twilight film of the same name.
Oh, that's right.
But it wasn't until 2 years later, in 2013, when things finally started rolling. This is when Gillespie and Kostanski had the opportunity to pitch the film at Frontier's International Co-Production Market in July. It gave them a hard deadline, knowing that they needed to create something by July in order to submit it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they still had no script and no real plan at all for the film. So, thankfully, Kostanski, who is also a special effects and makeup artist by trade, had gathered a bunch of gags and ideas that he had hoped to showcase in the film whenever it was going to be made. So, along with some very familiar imagery that was conjured up by Gillespie, maybe some cultist robes and a very particular triangle,
Uh-huh.
the pair were able to put together a 90-second proof of concept teaser to show to potential producers. And I watched it, and it is honestly incredible.
Okay.
It is brilliant, brilliant work. I think what surprised me the most about it is that they used basically no money at all to make it, with Kostanski saying that all of the special effects were cobbled together with whatever he had lying around the shop that he was working at the time.
That's so fucking cool.
But the teaser blew everyone away, especially producer Casey Walker, who immediately became attached to the project. And with Walker on board, the pair got to work on writing a proper screenplay. But very early on in the process, they knew that the film would be a creative effects-driven project. And realizing that they would need a lot of prep time and funds for materials to get things up and running, they turned to Indiegogo and launched a campaign for crowdfunding.
Damn, okay.
So they offered a ton of really interesting perks, and they also gained the support of a lot of indie filmmaking contemporaries. But the Indiegogo campaign would eventually reach over 1,000 backers and raise $82,000 for the production.
God damn.
And so this helped finance all of their creature effects work from jump. But the remainder of the budget was secured through more traditional means like financiers and other production companies. But though the full cost of the film isn't readily available, it's really safe to say that it was a pretty low budget for the quality of what appears on screen.
Yeah.
But with all of this secured, they scout locations, they have their funding, and they go through, I believe, 3 months of prep. But one day before the cameras were set to roll, one of the financiers backs out of the film, and Walker is forced to put the film on hiatus.
No.
Why?
Do not know. But Walker rushes to find new producing partners who believed in the project and Gillespie and Kostanski's vision as much as he did. And just as soon as they're picking it all up again and ready once more to go before the cameras, the production is shut down again. And this time I really don't know why. They never said.
Oh, shit.
But at this point, a third of their budget has already been spent. And when production officially begins in the winter of 2015, remember I said this started in 2011.
God
Yeah.
damn.
They are left with only 20 11-hour days to shoot the entire film.
What?
Unbelievable. But with the very limited time and budget, All of their shot lists are tossed out of the window, and they rush to storyboard the film to have at least something to follow, shooting with very limited locations and completely out of chronological order to their chagrin, but out of necessity.
Okay.
Gillespie said that everything that could go wrong with this production absolutely did.
Oh.
He called it a soul-crushing nightmare where every single person, cast and crew, was pushed to their limit and to the extreme of what was even possible.
Jeez.
But after a post-production process, which both directors would call one of the worst times of their lives...
Holy shit!
The pair were incredibly thankful that they had a movie at all at the end of it. The film would eventually have its world premiere at Fantastic Fest in 2016 before expanding to video on demand in a very limited release in about 50 cinemas. And despite the modest box office, the film would receive pretty decent reviews from critics and audiences alike, eventually attaining something of a cult status over the years, and something that made me smile. But coming away from this entire project and the whole story of it all, the directors would say that the fact that any movie at all gets made ever is a miracle.
All right, give it a couple extra points.
Yeah, all right.
Now, before we flay the flesh of this film, we would like to issue a warning for spoilers. Pod Mortem is a very in-depth podcast, and in thoroughly discussing horror films, we have no choice but to spoil a thing or two. If you don't wish to be spoiled, please go watch the film, then come back and enjoy the show. If you've already seen the film or don't care about spoilers, let's go looking. So following the production vanity plates, we settle at the bottom of a staircase, where through small slices of light, we find the lifeless legs of a body lying prone in a pool of blood at the bottom of the steps. A woman's frightened screams cut through the low, droning score as we glide over this unfortunate soul and over to the foyer, where centered in the weathered wooden slats of the front door rests a triangle of bold black paint. We press into it as James, played by Evan Stern, races panting for the barrier, barreling through the door and bursting through it, leaping off the steps of the front porch and making a run for it.
Evan Stern has a credit in Trap from 2024.
Uh-oh.
Uncredited,
Really?
but he was there. We
And
seen
good
him.
for him. And God bless him.
That would be so fun to cover.
Yeah.
Yes, it would.
But James stops dead in his tracks when a shot rings out behind him, echoing into the evening. He turns around to face the source of the sound, but watches as an uncredited woman follows in his footsteps out of the house, fearful cries escaping her as she tries to make her escape, only for her to catch a bullet right in the back, clattering to the grass of the large front lawn with a thud. She breathes shakily on the ground as two men calmly descend the front steps. The father, played by Daniel Fathers, which is interesting.
Stop.
Yeah.
And the son, played by Mike Son. I'm just kidding. Mike Biscoff.
Yum.
Yeah.
I love Biscoff.
Oh, it's spelled differently. It's fine.
Oh, okay.
The father stalks calmly through the grass and over to the driver's side door of a parked car out front. He reaches inside to switch on the headlights, and illuminated in their beam crawls the wounded woman, the son standing over her with an uneasy look in his eyes as the father retrieves a bright red can of gasoline. He makes his way over, forcing the can into his son's arms, his eyes staring certain at the woman on the ground before stepping away from his son to gaze off into the distance. We see James making a mad dash for the trees that surround the property, and the father places a cigarette into his mouth, lighting it, taking a puff, as his son douses the woman, soaking her patterned sweater in petrol. The father breathes white air into the cold night, assuring his son that James won't get far. But returning to him, the father steels himself, standing over their victim, and after a deep drag of his cigarette, he tosses it onto the woman's back. The igniting flames cast a golden glow across the father and son, the bright fire roaring before them as they peer through it to the writhing woman beneath until she goes still. The father makes a measured march back to the parked car, climbing inside, with his son following in staggered steps, unable to tear his eyes away from the flickering flames. Their car pulls off for the open road, but unbeknownst to them, a figure watches from nearby. Framed by thin, splintered branches, in the pulsing light of the fire, stands a disciple, draped in a pristine white robe, save for the black triangle stitched into the fabric at the center of their face. Very cool and iconic look.
Yeah.
One of the visuals you'll take away from it.
Yeah. It did make me, and I know this was before, but it did make me think of Squid Games. I don't know why, because of the mask.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
This was just a hell of an opening.
Yes.
Because you're like, what the hell did we just get dropped into?
Yeah, because there's no anything. It's just, this is happening. Now it's over.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and you really get an opinion about the father and son right off the bat.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And it's like, oh, I'm glad that James got away.
Exactly.
Yes,
yeah.
It's like, well. Something very interesting that made me laugh is that they had a lot of people on set who play these disciples, but I guess because of the way that the costumes were outfitted, they didn't fit everyone as well as they wanted, so they didn't achieve the look that they had hoped when there's a bunch of them there. And so they decided to do what they did for their 90-second teaser, which is to kind of film maybe one or two and digitally duplicate them throughout different scenes.
Okay.
It is scary how uniform they look.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that was the right move.
Yeah.
Me too.
Because if we see somebody's sneakers and jeans, it makes it a little...
It does look a little strange.
Yeah.
But the very funny thing is, because of this choice, there are only 2 people credited as disciples in this film. And it's a deep cut reference, but it made me crack up. These people are Brad Storch and Betty Symington.
Are you kidding me?
No, it's The Simpsons.
Really?
Yeah.
So nobody got a real credit?
No, those are the only...
All right, I'm telling you, they're making the score go up.
Right? But we cut abruptly to black, only to return swiftly, lingering within a dark forest, gazing upward through brittle branches at the light of the moon as the opening credits appear in glimmering light. An echoing, arpeggiated guitar is accompanied by cryptic keys in the score as we're treated to various sights. The sprawling underbrush of the forest floor, the battered sign of the Evergreen Motel, the ominous orbs of street lamps cast above liminal spaces throughout a seemingly abandoned town, a faraway factory belching smoke into the night, the uneven asphalt of a long road ahead, and finally, the glittering stars above us in the night sky. And we finally get the title, the score howling around us as it fades in at the center of a triangular glyph through the cosmic darkness around us. The Void. So I did want to talk about the score of this film very quickly, because the style of film that we have and thinking it to be kind of a throwback to maybe the 1980s, this film.
Yeah.
Only to learn that the filmmakers explicitly stated that it is not an 80s throwback.
Huh.
I thought that this score would be dominated by synth.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
But that was one of the things that they had said intentionally not to use, which was very interesting to me, but I understand the reason why.
Right.
Because it would only make it seem even more like
For
they're,
sure.
Trying to do something like that. Although I do miss it.
Yeah, I would have appreciated that.
But there were several composers for this film. A group called Blitz/Berlin, Joseph Murray, Menelin Music, Ludwig Voss, and one of the directors, Jeremy Gillespie. And Gillespie had said that they were listening not to those old soundtracks that we all know and love, but mostly inspired by the score for Sicario and True Detective.
Huh.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
And I thought that these opening shots kind of put me in the mind a little bit of True Detective, if you think about it, the way that the
Yeah.
opening credits are. But I think that at the time when you think about it, It Follows was 2 years old. Stranger Things came out this same year. So it's like maybe you shouldn't do synth.
Right.
Yeah, that is true.
But at the edge of the forest, Deputy Sheriff Daniel Carter, played by Aaron Poole, is stirred awake in his parked squad car by the crackling of his radio.
Aaron Poole, he was in The Empty Man in 2020.
That's another kind of underrated.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I've seen it, but I've seen the picture for it, but I've never seen it.
We have some requests for it too, but I've never seen it either.
I remember very little from it. I probably should have paid more attention, I gotta be honest with you. But I do remember like a really cool looking like creature skeleton thing.
Okay.
I think it might be on the poster, but it scared the hell out of me.
There's just something about Aaron Poole, is his name?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That I feel like he would do a really mean Jesse Pinkman impression. There's something. Wait, his name's Aaron Poole?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds
And
like
Aaron
it
Paul?
with an English accent.
Aaron Poole. I think that this is Aaron Paul for real.
Okay.
He's gone under the radar.
It's an alias.
Doesn't he sound like him sometimes, though?
He does sometimes.
It was making me laugh. Anyway, carry on.
But the dispatcher, played by Amy Groening, sounds through the small speaker, asking Daniel if he's awake out there. And yes, Amy Groening is related to the creator of The Simpsons, Matt Groening.
That's
crazy.
insane.
Yeah, some sites were saying that she's his niece and others just said relative, so I don't know for sure.
Oh.
But I thought that was interesting, and maybe that was a little nod to her to do the Betty Symington thing.
Right? She's like, all right, I'll be the dispatcher.
But through creaking groans, Daniel fibs that he's in the middle of a high-speed chase, so this better be important. The dispatcher snarks that she just feels so relieved that Daniel is out there, keeping everyone safe. But Daniel sits upright, chuckling over the static of the connection, checking in if there's anything new on her end. She shares that there's been a mess of chatter from the state police, though it seems that they've gotten everything under control. I don't know how true this is, because there is a state police officer that comes in later.
Yeah.
That seems to have absolutely nothing under control.
Yeah. Again, some things don't quite line up. Cosmic.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Mhm. Ambiguity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with the deputy properly woken up, the dispatcher says that she'll just see him when he gets in. Daniel yawns his agreement, but as he wipes the sleep from his eyes, he spies a figure through his windshield, darting through the nearby trees and stumbling to fall right in front of his vehicle on the road. Daniel switches on his headlights, keeping the dispatch informed of what he assumes is just a drunk teenager or something. But he calls out to the figure, shouting sarcastically that it's a little cold to be crawling all the way home. But when the figure offers no response, blinded by the bright lights beaming at him, Daniel climbs out of his car reluctantly, alerting dispatch to stand by. He crosses over to the stranger, but when he reaches him, shining a flashlight over, he finds James resting in a huddled heap, and his demeanor shifts. James lifts his weary eyes to spy the deputy, Daniel noticing streaks of blood smeared across the side of his pale face, and he's only able to mutter, "Holy shit." We cut abruptly to Daniel's cruiser speeding down the empty road, sirens wailing and lights flashing, while James lies in the back seat, clinging to consciousness as the deputy makes a frantic call to dispatch, pleading to know the nearest hospital.
Daniel's like, you're going to be okay.
Say the goddamn words. But the dispatcher explains that the closest emergency services is still Marsh County, though she's not sure what's left of it after the fire, noting that they're probably moving, though they are still listed on duty. Displeased by this answer, Daniel asks about Lakeland instead, but upon learning that it's another 20 minutes away, and upon surveying the miserable stranger in the back, Daniel directs the dispatch to put in a call to Marsh to let them know he's bringing someone in. And he specifically tells her to let them know it's him bringing the man in, reminding her once more to call ahead. In this moment, it seems like he's just being very thorough.
Yeah.
But once we get there and understand some dynamics,
Yeah.
it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But we then peer past the sign outside of Marsh County Memorial Hospital, the building looming large in the night, its exterior lights guiding Daniel's cruiser closer through the parking lot, where he parks beneath the awning at the entrance. So this was one of the difficulties that arose very early for the production.
Mm-hmm.
This shot alone took half a day to set up.
Oh, wow.
Because they were working in the rain trying to build the proper track for the dolly, and it was just infuriating. And so after all this time wasted on this one shot, they decided that that was when they were going to throw out their shot list. And from here on out, about 99% of what we see is shot handheld because of that.
Jesus.
God damn.
I did see when they were talking about casting, because one of the directors was saying, like, they say that 99% of a director's job is getting the right cast. And he was like, in this case, it was totally true, da-da-da. But he was saying, like, sometimes they would film and use the rehearsals for the scene.
Oh, wow.
And I wonder if that was out of necessity for, like, we got to keep moving. We gotta just use what we got.
That's
and
crazy.
maybe that lends some understanding to us, being like, some performances or some scenes aren't as whatever, because it's like, dude, we gotta fucking times the window's closing.
Right.
And they're still trying to work it out.
Yeah.
That's true. I didn't think of that.
It's like, all right, the void, okay.
You're doing your best.
Yeah.
But behind the counter inside stands Allison Fraser, a nurse played by Kathleen Monroe, who's inspecting the bottom of an intercom microphone clutched in her hands. So this is something that's just, I think, Pod Mortem specific whenever you're breaking things down second by second, scene by scene. But you're watching this film and it's just like, yeah, she's at work, whatever, no big deal. But as you're watching it for the show and writing your script and she's looking at this microphone, you realize that it's very clear that they just told her to pick up a prop and to pretend that she's working. I will say she does not have enough screen time, I don't think, in this film.
Yeah.
But as far as maybe performances are concerned, I think that hers is easily the strongest, maybe outside of one character that we'll meet later that goes through a pretty big change. But I think that she does pretty excellent work with what she's given.
Yeah.
Because I think there are a few scenes that we get between Allison and Daniel where it's like, I believe about half of this.
Yeah, I will say I found it a bit strange. You were saying, again, the directors in that same conversation about the using rehearsal footage and stuff. They said that Aaron Poole was like very intensely getting into character in between the scenes that they were shooting. Like he was running around and punching walls and like, I'm not kidding. Like, literally smashing chairs.
I don't get that character from this movie. Like, we don't need to do that.
No, I don't think.
I was like, all right. I don't know.
That's a choice. Is that method? I don't know what we're trying to say here. But Allison's microphone situation is interrupted when Daniel calls out from the entrance, dragging the bloody James into the lobby and asking anyone nearby for help. Allison rushes over to Daniel as she alerts her colleagues to bring a stretcher up front. But Daniel stands there holding James upright and appearing puzzled that dispatch didn't call ahead like he asked. So that's kind of cool when you think about a scene later of him trying to call out. It's kind of setting up a little bit that communication might be a little...
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But the pair are soon joined by Beverly, played by Stephanie Belding, who wheels a stretcher over to them, the three of them working together to kind of slam James.
Yes! That was my note.
Yeah.
Onto
Did we
it.
need to body slam?
It's kind of wild.
It was jarring.
It was a lot.
That's what the chair practice was.
All right.
He's like, I got this.
Stephanie Belding, she has a credit in A Slight Case of Murder in 99 and Watchmen in 09.
Huh.
Oh.
But Allison checks in on James, peeling open his clenched eyelids to peer at his pupils, and Beverly wonders what his story is. Daniel only able to offer very limited information. He's bleeding, Bev. It's like, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
After a cursory examination, Allison suggests that they get James on a monitor and into a Dr. Powell. The nurses wheel James down the hall and through a pair of double doors, Daniel sharing a somewhat awkward moment of eye contact with Allison before she disappears with Bev and their strange patient. Daniel stands catching his breath, but glances back to discover a couple of folks seated in the chairs in the lobby. Maggie, a pregnant teenager played by Grace Monroe, and Ben, her grandfather, played by James Millington. Recognizing them, Daniel gives a wave of his hand and a breathless greeting.
James Millington, he has a credit in Darkman 2, The Return of Durant from 95, and Murder at 1600 from 97.
Interesting. But as Allison and Bev speed down the hall with James, we settle in on one of the hospital rooms, where Kim, an intern played by Ellen Wong, sits super casual at the side of a bed occupied by Cliff, played by Matt Kennedy.
Ellen Wong, I remember her from Scott Pilgrim
Very
in
cool.
2010. She was also in 29 episodes of Glow that ran from 2017 to 2019.
Oh, yeah.
And she also did 26 episodes of The Carrie Diaries from 2013 to 2014.
Did you ever watch that?
I did not.
Yeah, okay.
But I was aware of it.
Kim chews the tip of her pen as she leaves through the medical textbook in her lap, but Cliff takes notice of the passing members of the staff in the hall. He asks Kim what's going on, but the nonplussed nursing student flatly replies, "Who knows? They won't let me do anything around here." A disappointed Cliff just sighs, returning his attention to the television, where he's watching the iconic and royalty-free horror classic, Night of the Living Dead. But Kim interrupts his viewing with a rather interesting topic she discovers in her textbook: degloving. She even flips the book around to show Cliff a graphic photograph of it, the flesh flayed away at a patient's wrist. Cliff recoils, covering the side of it with his hand, which prompts Kim to share a rather fun fact. You know, statistically, you're more likely to die in a hospital than anywhere else.
Wow.
Yeah. Firstly, I love the Mike Flanagan representation.
Right.
Yeah.
Secondly, maybe this is why they're not letting you do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, no shit.
They should add not talking to patients on this list. Cliff quips sarcastically, "Cool." But Kim then suggests that she should give him a catheter. It could be fun.
Yeah.
What?
The blast.
Yeah.
Cliff wonders if Kim is even a nurse, and Kim settles back into her seat with a sigh, revealing that she's still in training. Cliff appears unimpressed by this, covering himself in his thin hospital blanket and telling Kim that in that case, he's just going to try to get some sleep. Kim just rises from her chair, reaching for the fruit cup and plastic spoon on his dining tray, commenting, "Well, I guess you won't be needing this then."
Wow.
You know where we keep those.
That's true.
You didn't need to take it.
She offers a sing-song goodbye as she exits into the hall, and just as she does, the lights begin to flicker around her, Cliff's television cutting sharply to a sizzling snow of static. So there's a lot of this scene that feels like a throwaway, but it is kind of interesting. They're introducing this idea of degloving,
Yeah.
which I did not know could extend to body parts other than the hand, which, you know, is very important.
Yeah.
But I was also like, hey, you know, this Kim and Cliff are pretty cute together. I bet that'll... You know?
Yeah, there's a little back and forth that makes you think.
Yeah, we'll see if it's fleshed out.
Right. Ah. So now that we've seen a little bit more of the hospital, I really wanted to talk about the production design of this film.
Okay.
Very interestingly, between the shutdown of the production both times, they lost all of the locations that they planned to use. And it was through no fault of their own that this happened. Because apparently, another unnamed production took these locations and through their behavior, kind of treating locals like shit, they burned bridges of any productions filming where they initially intended to film. And so whenever they came back to film The Void, the town was basically like, we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
All because of that unnamed production. It's like, name names.
I want to know.
I'm very nosy. But thankfully, They found new locations to use in the city of Sault Ste. Marie in Ontario. And the first location they found was the most important and the most crucial. And it turned out to be the abandoned Sir James Dunn Collegiate and Vocational School, which is this location that they turned into a hospital.
Okay.
Oh.
And so they had a concept artist by the name of Henry Fong. And Fong worked in the art department of a lot of films that we have heard of and appreciate quite a bit.
Okay.
Pacific Rim, It Chapter 1, and recently The Long Walk and Del Toro's Frankenstein.
Okay.
Holy
okay.
shit.
But he was a friend of Gillespie's who also has a lot of art department credits to his name as well.
Mm-hmm.
But what they did is Fong went around this abandoned school and took a bunch of digital pictures. He would take these digital pictures and literally overlay drawings of concept art to make the production design for the film.
Okay.
He was not able to be on set, and so it was through this concept art that they were able to design the sets
Wow.
and create this hospital.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it was Gillespie who oversaw the production design at this point, so he's actually credited as the co-production designer.
Okay.
But there was also a lot of work put into it by art director Brendan Callahan, who guided the construction crew to create the sets to match all of the intricate details of Fong's drawings. But as far as the set dressing is concerned, the actress who plays Beverly alerted the production to a set sale that another production was having, and they basically bought all of the hospital props that they had and outfitted this school with all of what they bought.
Damn.
And so there are some pretty cool portions of this hospital that look very much like a hospital.
Yeah.
All because of what they were able to buy from this sale.
Yeah.
So for all the shit that they went through, at least they got lucky with something.
That's
Yes.
true.
It reminds me a little bit of the hospital from Planet Terror.
I can see that, yeah. That's very fair.
Yeah.
But back in the lobby, Daniel takes a seat to the side of Maggie and Ben. Ben setting down his newspaper to comment. Well, you sure know how to make an entrance, Danny boy. So it's like, oh, they all know each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is really hammering in like small town vibes.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel reluctantly concurs, but he turns his attention to Maggie, asking how she's holding up. Maggie just clutches her pregnant belly, sharing that she's been having some pains recently, but Dr. Powell says that the baby might be on its way. Daniel shines a polite smile as Ben elaborates that his grandchild is kicking up a storm in there, that's for sure. Daniel turns away from both of them. It's like, wow. He's like, I don't need to hear any of that. I guess I should say great grandchild. I don't.
Right, because he's her grandpa.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
But when Daniel does turn away, he spies Kim breezing past the front desk, scooping some peaches into her mouth from the stolen cup and offering a silent wave to him with her plastic spoon as she enters an adjacent hall. But Ben continues, grateful for the fact that Dr. Powell is still here. He laments that the fire really did a number on this place, but he adds that he can't afford to drive Maggie into the city every single time that kid gets fidgety in there. Maggie clams up, urging her grandfather to give it a rest, with the elderly man just laughing it off. But a loud crashing sound down the hall draws the attention of the deputy sheriff, who stands from his seat to investigate. In his hospital room, James struggles against Allison, Beverly, and Dr. Richard Powell, played by Kenneth Welsh, who try their best to settle him atop his sheets.
Kenneth Welsh. He was in The Exorcism of Emily Rose in 2005.
Hey!
Yeah. Also in Miracle in 2004 and The Day After Tomorrow in 2004 as well.
Oh.
That's where I know him from.
But James screams for them to let go of him as Powell pokes the needle of a syringe into his vein, assuring him that it'll just be one more second before the sedative starts to work. James screams, begging for them to stop, but as soon as Powell withdraws the needle, James's protests become weaker, soothed by the medication. The nurses unhand him as Powell catches his breath, and Beverly mutters to herself that she's not going to miss this. And kind of sealed to me Beverly's fate. It's like that nurse had one day until retirement. so I'm very worried.
Yeah.
Literally.
But Daniel sneaks into the room, stalking over to the foot of the bed and calling out to Powell, wondering if he'll be able to handle this patient. Powell just responds that Daniel's friend here has had quite a trauma, and rifling through the contents of his wallet, Allison discovers that his name is James. Not that they have any ID bracelets left or anything. Daniel asks how bad his condition is, and Powell shares the obvious, that James hasn't been very cooperative, but the sedative should help them determine exactly what his condition is. He admits that their resources are limited here, though, and that everything has been pretty much packed up for the move.
I have no firsthand experience as to whether this is protocol, but it seems very dangerous.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, this seems like a really bad idea.
I understand they said that they were still on the list or whatever to provide care.
Right.
But if you don't have anything, or, I mean, all they really seem to have is a bunch of sedatives, I guess.
Yeah, why are we still here?
I don't know.
Yeah, it just seems dangerous.
Yeah.
And it is funny because literally there are moments where they are going to look for more medical supplies, and I think that's all they find ever.
Yeah.
But with James lying unconscious, Allison rolls up his sleeve to inspect his arm, discovering several small track marks dotting his pale flesh, and noting that James is no stranger to needles. She asks Daniel where he found this guy, but the deputy sheriff is too distracted to answer, surveying his stained uniform and lamenting with disgust. He fucking bled on me. But out in the lobby, Kim sits behind the counter under the light of a lamp, highlighting passages in her textbook. Beverly joins her, acknowledging that she knows this hospital wasn't Kim's first choice, but she scolds that she's supposed to be boxing up files. Kim reminds her colleague that there are things called computers now, earning a scoff from Beverly, who asks, "Computers can put files in boxes?" She offers a sarcastic "thank you" as she departs for James's hospital room, prompting Kim to close her book with a heavy sigh to tend to her assigned task with great annoyance. So there's a clock that's hanging over the, I guess, supply closet over here.
Yeah.
And on commentary, they were talking about it in such a way that was very cryptic, kind of seeming to keep it a secret, what the time was and what it meant.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I went back and rewatched it, I saw that the time was 2:37 a.m., which is a reference to The Shining.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Take a shot.
Uh-huh.
But I don't see what that means outside of that.
Yeah.
Because they were very secretive about it on commentary. Like,
Yeah.
we're not going to get into it and kind of a thing. And I was like, well, that's
Huh.
peculiar,
Yeah.
you know?
Okay.
But in a nearby office, Daniel sits behind a desk, frantically scrubbing at the bloodstains that James left behind on his shirt. And there is an analog clock next to him that's blurry in the background. It's also 2:37, which I thought was a pretty cool moment of continuity if it's the same time as the...
Yeah.
It's like, great job. But Allison appears in the doorway, a cup of coffee clutched in each hand as she interrupts the deputy sheriff, noting that he's going to need something a little stronger if he's going to get that stain out. Daniel stutters awkwardly, pointing at the open container of disinfectant wipes in front of him on the desk, and he tosses the spent one in the trash as he stands from his chair, closing the lid and setting it aside. With a smile, he reminds Allison that he can do his own laundry, and Allison responds with an encouraging, "Well, look at you." When Daniel approaches her, Allison hands him a cup of coffee, the dark liquid warming the walls of a Marsh County Police Department mug. And as Daniel snags it from her, he remarks that he's been looking for that mug, but Allison retorts that it's hers now, and he shouldn't get any ideas.
It's like, oh. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm piecing things together.
Daniel allows this, sharing a smile with Allison, who leans against the door frame, staring up at him. As he takes a sip, Daniel notes that Allison is being friendly, Allison admitting that it's just good to see him. But before she can say any more, Powell interrupts, apologizing for his intrusion, which Daniel and Allison both awkwardly excuse. Allison then departs, supposing she ought to go check on Bev to make sure she hasn't murdered the intern. It's a wild thing to say with how this goes.
Yes! This is what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. But now alone, Powell approaches Daniel with a heavy sigh, sharing that their guest is out for now, noting that James isn't badly hurt, but it'll be a while before Daniel can ask him any questions. He's like, his spine is fucked up, dude. What happened? Daniel's just shifty.
I don't know.
I have no idea. It's fresh too. You can tell. But Daniel curses in disappointment that he can't interrogate James yet, and Powell promptly changes the subject, telling him, "You should be gentle with Allison. She's still coming to terms with what happened." Daniel understands, accepting the doctor's advice in a low grumble, but Powell continues, sympathizing that there's nothing worse in this life than losing a child. He says that when he lost his daughter, he was a mess, and it took a long time to come back from that. But he tells Daniel that you just have to keep going, and Daniel nods, struggling against his emotions as he reaches a grateful hand to Powell's shoulder. The elder doctor exits the room, leaving Daniel alone with his thoughts.
I wasn't expecting the heaviness of this at all, and I think it really sets the tone for like motivations and things moving forward, but I was very surprised by this information being dropped.
Yeah, honestly, it's a little heavy. It is heavy, but like for me, it's like, oh, that's like, if we're talking about the void, you know what I mean? It
was unexpected.
Right.
I think my thing is there's nothing that we've seen so far that could have led you to think this is what's going on between Allison and Daniel.
Not at all. Yeah. Not at all.
Because even upon, you got this thing with the coffee mug, you got this thing where they have these awkward looks back and forth. It's almost just like, oh, well, they were, boyfriend and girlfriend and they maybe lived together, broke up, and here they are now.
Yeah.
But for this to be what it is, it kind of doesn't gel.
Yeah.
And that's why it's like the way that he acts or the way that he treats her,
yes,
or a line that he says later.
Ooh.
I'm like,
no.
Why are we treating her this way? Or why are you? And I understand the complexities of grief and misplaced anger and everything like that, but it is difficult to hear and behold the way that he, you know what I mean?
No, yeah, I think you said it a minute ago, or a second ago, but that is kind of what it was for me. It is heavy, and yeah, I didn't expect it in this movie, but I don't feel that between them. I don't ever feel that, I guess, closeness or that like that deep. I don't know. For me, it just doesn't really read with them.
No.
So it for me, it does take me out of it.
But I do, like Nay said, I appreciate what it's setting up for Powell.
Yes.
Because I think that is probably the most successful character arc in this film.
Yeah.
Is to see what that has done to him.
Yes.
And will do to him.
Mm-hmm.
And that is honestly completely understandable.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that this inclusion, but I mean, I guess when there's a lot of that dynamic of parent and child throughout this film.
Yeah.
I think it's 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
So maybe that is something like a theme that they're continually hinting at.
True.
Okay.
But after an exterior shot of the building and the surrounding trees stretching into the evening air, we return to the empty halls of the hospital, Daniel rounding the corner in the direction of the nursery/labor and delivery ward. But he stops when he hears a low whimper emanating from one of the nearby rooms. He creeps in through the dark to discover Beverly standing at the side of Cliff's bed. But when he asks if she's okay, Beverly just trembles a raspy breath in response, her hand reaching out in front of her and over Cliff's face. As Daniel continues to call out to her, we suddenly rest on the opposite side of the bed, where we see exactly what Bev is preoccupied with. The long blade of a pair of scissors clenched in her fist is plunged deeply into the soft tissue of Cliff's eyeball, tears of blood raining down his cheek. Beverly slowly removes the scissors from the mess within Cliff's socket, turning in Daniel's direction, the deputy sheriff frozen in fright in the doorway. Bev is backlit by a light on the wall, but the flesh of her face has been flayed away, a red and angry wound worn like a jagged mask. Bev laments, "This isn't my face," as she tears strips of skin from her cheeks, and Daniel begs her not to do that.
Yeah, please don't do that.
It's like, can you stop?
My jaw dropped. I was not expecting shit to pop off so quickly. This was like 0 to 100.
Yeah.
I know that shit happened at the very, very beginning, but since we've been at the hospital, I mean, James did get bodies like that.
Yeah, he did.
But other than that, I was very surprised. And this looks great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll be honest. When we're going and then we're here at the hospital and then it's like, okay, we're meeting everybody and getting whatever. I'm like, okay, what's happening? You know what I mean? What are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
And then this happens. It's like, okay, like you said, immediate. I was like, let's go.
Yeah.
And it's so shocking again because the way they set up Cliff, it's like, oh, this is going to be like almost the comedy relief. Him and Kim
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
And for him to just be dead.
Yeah.
And for Bev to be the one that did it, it's
Yeah.
wild.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing that happened to him while he was on Earth was he got his fucking fruit cup stolen.
Yeah.
That's terrible. Threatened with the catheter.
His peaches.
Yeah.
Wow. But Daniel's shaky voice calls out to her, attempting to gain her attention and ordering her to put the scissors down and to stop. But Bev continues, her fingers digging into her face to tear more flesh free as she whines. "It's not me." She holds her scissors tightly as she implores, "Can you help me?" But as she starts to creep towards Daniel threateningly, the deputy sheriff orders her to stop, calling out her name. But when she gets too close, Daniel unholsters his pistol, aiming it defensively. And within a split second, Beverly charges for him, leaving Daniel no choice but to pull the trigger. Bev catches the bullet and crumbles to the hospital tiles. Daniel struggles to make sense of what just happened, barely able to breathe. But the gunshot echoes into the hall, capturing the attention of Allison and Kim, who race toward the room, stopping at the doorway in shock at the sight before them. Allison trembles. "What did you do?" to Daniel, which I thought was pretty fucked up. But her composure finally returns to her, and she orders Kim out into the hall. It's like you could have asked what happened.
Yes, yeah.
But Kim's unblinking eyes catch sight of Cliff's body, bloodied and lifeless in his bed, remarking that she was just talking to him. Daniel stammers an explanation that Bev attacked him, she killed him, and then she came at him. He guides Allison into the hall with Kim just as Powell arrives on the scene, the doctor absolutely disturbed by what he discovers, and Allison parroting Daniel's explanation of the events in a shuddering breath. Daniel realizes that he has to call it in, but he can barely even form a complete sentence, so Allison urges him to take a second. But Daniel breezes past her, struggling to catch his breath as he asks Allison to just give him a second. She's like, "I told you to take one."
Yeah, dude.
But he pushes through the bathroom door, pacing past the urinals and clutching his trembling hand into a fist.
I did think the Arthur fist was a little funny.
But he suddenly becomes physically ill, ducking into a nearby stall to vomit. He then collects himself, wiping his mouth and rinsing his face with cold water at the sink. But as he lifts his head to find his own reflection in the mirror, the world begins to fray around the edges, blurring entirely before dipping to black. A low rumble overtakes us as we peer up into the sky, dark clouds encircling overhead, before a quick flash of an undulating organism pulses an interruption. We are then gliding over a wasteland of jagged rock as far as the eye can see, pale starlight rippling through the cosmos above us. And after another flash of that red, sinewy mass, we peer once more into the sky, where a triangular shape suddenly appears as a silhouette through the whisper of clouds that surround us.
What the hell?
Yeah.
First of all, this looks great.
Yeah.
Secondly, I was like, are we in a GF intro on Final Fantasy? What is happening?
It's like, let's sit back and just enjoy this.
It does look like a boss area.
It does. We can rest, regroup.
Yeah.
They'll take care of this.
I did. So this is something that really shocked me because all this stuff hearing about this low budget of this film, these visuals are way beyond what you would expect to see in it.
Yeah.
And they had said that I guess this section and other sections like it were handled by a visual effects outfit in Toronto called Intelligent Creatures. And I would not guess this because this is another thing that people talk about with this film so often is that it is this showcase for practical effects, which it is.
Yeah.
But there are over 300 visual effects shots in this film.
Damn.
And you don't realize it because they're used so sparingly or they're used in a way like this that is just so impactful and impressive.
Yeah.
But these visuals are so memorable and they look so incredible.
Yeah.
I'm just blown away every single time that we get to some of the stuff like this.
Yeah.
And I know we're supposed to, it's the unknown and whatever, but I kind of want to know.
What is this?
For
Yeah.
sure, yeah.
I think it's the Leviathan.
Oh, it's right. It's a little corner.
Yeah. But Daniel awakens from this vision on the bathroom floor, Allison and Powell kneeling at his side to assess his condition. But Daniel defies their insistence that he take it easy, rolling over to rise to his feet with their reluctant assistance. Allison suggests that he might have had a seizure, and Powell adds that if he's feeling dizzy, he shouldn't try to get up at all. But Daniel struggles against them, remembering that he needs to call in what happened in the hospital room. As he stands against the wall collecting himself, Allison tells him that it won't be necessary because a state trooper is already here.
Oh?
Daniel wonders how long he was out, and Powell tells him that not much time has passed. But Allison reveals that the state trooper was already on his way here, something to do with that guy that Daniel brought in. I will say Allison says that kid that you brought in, and I'm like, that dude's my age.
Yeah.
But Allison insists that it isn't important right now, even though it is unbelievably important.
Yes!
Yeah.
But Powell guides Daniel over to the door, supposing that the trooper is probably going to want to talk to him. But against his breathless protests, Powell suggests that they move Daniel into a room, as he's just experienced an extremely traumatic event. He acknowledges that Daniel is stubborn, like his father was, but implores him to take this very seriously. Daniel assures him that he is, before promptly exiting the bathroom, leaving Powell disappointed and forcing Allison to follow him out into the hall with great concern. But Mitchell, the state trooper played by Art Hindle, stands scribbling on a notepad when Daniel calls out to him by name, the trooper asking the deputy sheriff what happened and noting that he heard that he found the two of them in the room together.
Art Hindle.
Mm-hmm.
He has a credit in Black Christmas from 1974
Holy shit.
What?
and Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 78.
We're in the presence of royalty.
Yeah.
Holy
That's
shit.
incredible.
Yeah, I was like, oh shit. I was like, we've talked about both of those movies.
Yeah.
But Daniel struggles against the horror of his memory, recalling that Cliff was dead when he arrived in the room, and Bev came at him with a pair of scissors. Sidebar, I'm just realizing that her name is Beverly and this is Marsh County.
That's good. And they said Stephen King was an influence.
They did. But when Daniel asks the trooper how he got here so fast, Mitchell just answers cryptically, "The guy in the other room." Daniel wonders what's so special about him, and Mitchell explains that they've got a major bloodbath 20 miles north of here, claiming that James tore the place up like a butcher shop. At this, Allison reveals that after they looked James over, they were able to determine that most of the blood on his body wasn't his. Mitchell adds that James has a long list of drug-related priors, suggesting that maybe he slipped Beverly something. But he says that he has James cuffed to his hospital bed for the time being. But Allison deems this unnecessary, as James has been out cold for quite a while now. But Mitchell asserts, "Well, I'm here now. I'll sort it out." It's like, all right, he's one of those guys, I guess.
Yeah.
But as part of protocol, Mitchell asks for Daniel's firearm, which he gives up readily and without incident. But now holding the younger officer's weapon, Mitchell scolds. "You know, Carter, your dad was a stand-up cop. I wonder what he would think if he saw this shit show." And Daniel doesn't have an answer for this.
Dude, all this shit just happened.
Mm-hmm.
None of this is protocol. We don't know what the fuck is going. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And none of this could have been helped by Daniel at all.
Yeah.
I don't understand why we're blaming him or putting anything on him.
Yeah.
No.
And that is in the span of maybe a minute and a half that we
Yes.
talk about his father.
Yes.
I did think that his dad would have a much bigger role or a reason or anything.
Something.
But he's really just brought up kind of vaguely.
Yeah.
And there is a moment later in the film that they kind of insinuate something, and I'm not sure if that's what they're doing.
Right.
But Mitchell then turns his attention to Allison, asking who else is here in the hospital, just to make sure that everyone is accounted for. And Allison lists Dr. Powell, Kim, as well as Ben and Maggie, noting that Maggie is pregnant. Mitchell scoffs. "Christ, what a mess." Why?
I know.
You can't be like, "I'll take care of this. I'll put everything in order." Then be like, "Fuck, dude,
This is too much.
you can't have both."
But when Daniel requests permission to call it in himself, Mitchell grants it, the deputy sheriff exiting down the hall and back into the office. We follow Daniel through the long wall of windows as he reaches the telephone parked on the corner of the front desk. But next to it lies a radio, now belching static from its speakers. He switches the volume off before attempting to dial into the station, but upon discovering that the phone is dead, Daniel steps out of the office, calling into Mitchell on the radio and telling him that he's going to try to reach dispatch on his car radio. And I think it's in this moment that I realize I do not understand like interdepartmental relation and communication or anything, because he's a deputy sheriff, which I think means that he's just under the sheriff. We never meet the sheriff in this film.
Right.
Mitchell's a state trooper, but he's treating Mitchell like he's his superior.
Yeah.
But I don't think that that is true.
I don't know.
Is it assumed that the sheriff was Daniel's father? And he's deceased now?
Okay.
I think
I
there's
don't
some
know.
holes here.
Yeah.
It's like local versus state.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
But in my notes I do have, why would you not just use your radio? And then he was like, "I'm gonna go." I was like, "All right." Okay.
Scratch it out.
Yeah.
But Mitchell copies, and we watch as Daniel exits the hospital beneath the bright, beaming, and buzzing emergency sign. He crosses through the parking lot to approach his cruiser, settling into the driver's seat, the door wide open next to him as he places a call into dispatch. But when his only answer is the fuzz of static, he repeats his directive. "This is Carter at Marsh County. I have a code 3 and I need an assist." Still, nothing but static on the other end. Daniel curses, stashing his radio away, but he leans his head back into his seat, exhaling a sharp, disappointed breath, and when he opens his eyes, he spies something through the smudged glass of his windshield. A figure in a white robe off in the distance, a black triangle darkening the center of their hood. Daniel steps cautiously out of his car, shouting a confused, "Hi?" Which is like, okay.
I know.
You're a cop.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I think he forgets that.
Something. Let me see your hands.
Yeah.
Something. But he inches forward, the figure still standing in place, the deputy sheriff puzzled at what the fuck they could be doing. But the score suddenly grows suspenseful as the lights behind Daniel flicker off, and in this new darkness, the disciple stalks toward him, a sharp blade clutched in their hand. They wrestle Daniel to the ground, the officer summoning all of his strength at the wrists of the figure to keep the blade at bay. But the score pounds like a heartbeat as the figure gets the best of Daniel, the sharp end of the blade forced slowly through his shirt and into the soft flesh of his chest. Daniel writhes in pain, groaning in agony as the figure forces the blade deeper, but Daniel is finally able to push the disciple off of him, sending the robed figure splashing into a nearby puddle as the officer scurries away. But when he reaches his feet, he glances off into the parking lot, where 6 more disciples have suddenly appeared, standing in formation, their white robes whipping in the evening wind. And as Daniel cowers back, more figures join the fray, forcing him to make a clumsy and hasty retreat back to the front door of the hospital.
Absolutely fucking not.
No.
They looked so good and creepy. And again, with the escalation here of now Daniel's been fucking stabbed.
Yeah.
And this may be a little bit of a reach, but did anybody with the white cloak and running with the knife, did anybody else think that it might be a nod to Exorcist 3?
Oh, hell yeah.
Right? I was like,
Okay.
maybe I'm reaching, but it did make me think of that.
Well, let me tell you, they were talking about wanting to set this film in an isolated location, a single location.
Yeah.
And they were going through all the films that they loved that were set in hospitals, and one of them was Exorcist 3.
Okay. Yeah. I felt it.
Yeah.
But as Daniel staggers inside, crying for help and collapsing into the arms of Allison, who waits by the door, we return to the bloodied body of Beverly, climbing up her scrubs and past a bulging mass at her throat to discover pointed barbs like the legs of an insect jutting out of her mouth, flicking frantically against the flayed flesh of her face.
We don't need to bring spiders into this.
No.
The squelching sound as we're traveling, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck. I am not prepared for what we're about to see.
And you were talking about The Thing earlier. This is where I was
Yes.
like, that's absolutely.
Yeah.
But back in the lobby, Allison calls out to Powell, who kneels with her at Daniel's side, the nurse unbuttoning his shirt and keeping pressure on the wound at his chest. Powell calls out to the nearby Kim in a measured tone, ordering her to bring him a suture kit and 9 milligrams of morphine. It is an injection, so I think it would be milliliters, but the other problem I have here is that instead of suture kit, the subtitles said sutra kit. And I'm like, you're still on the clock, doctor.
Look, we're all about to die. Okay.
Gonna get real weird with it.
There's a few things I haven't tried yet.
But as blood pools around the disoriented Daniel, Allison pleads with him to keep his eyes open and on her. But when Kim stands frozen, unable to budge, Allison takes it upon herself to switch places with the intern, snagging her from the wall and instructing her to keep firm pressure on Daniel's wound. Powell encourages Daniel a few times with a good boy. It's very interesting.
Yeah. What?
Are you sure we're not doing the suture?
Yeah. It's like, where is that?
Take your finger out of there.
It's all right.
You said he's getting weird with
He
the...
is getting very weird with it. But Allison races down the hall, past a morose Maggie, who stares in horror at the scene before her. But against their emphatic shouts and implorations, Daniel loses consciousness. In his mind's eye, we find ourselves in a dimly lit examination room, gliding over a body on a table covered in a white sheet. This gives way to quick flashes and pumps of cardiac muscle, only for us to be sent once more into the bright stars of the cosmos, occluded by a drifting wall of dark clouds. But in a pool of water on the ground, we are the witness to the reflection of a figure which kneels in silhouetted supplication before a beaming light in the shape of a triangle.
Yeah.
Daniel finally awakens to the sound of his name being whispered above him by Allison, and Powell tears the bloodied gloves from his hands, asserting that he stopped the bleeding for now, to Allison's relief. But Daniel once again defies all calls to take it slow, using all of his limited strength to reach his feet. And as he stands, clutching the sutured wound at his chest, Mitchell's authoritative voice cuts through the crowd. What happened out there? The group peers through the glass of the front entrance, and we see rows of disciples now lining the parking lot, their white robes carved out of the dark of the evening. Mitchell notes that they have the place surrounded, but they're not trying to get in. We slowly press in on the figures, the group puzzled as to who these structured strangers could possibly be.
Even if this isn't like supernatural or cosmic or whatever, this many fucking people just surrounding you, it's like, all right, what? And if they're not trying to, get in, again,
it's like, why?
What's happening?
It's very scary.
It oddly makes it scarier that they're not trying to get in.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking of Assault on Precinct 13.
Okay.
And I'm like, it's another Carpenter. Maybe that could be an influence. But they're not. It's not a siege.
Yeah.
They're not trying to get in at all. So what the fuck are they doing?
Yeah.
But with both officers unable to get through to dispatch, they suggest moving everyone deeper inside of the hospital, or maybe even barricading the doors and finding another way out of the building. The figures stand, watching, waiting, emotion unreadable through their hoods and the dark triangles at the center of their faces. Only the vaguest of intentions gleaned from the sharp blades clutched in each of their hands. It's like they all have one?
Yeah.
God damn. But the brainstorming session is promptly disturbed when James's screams suddenly echo through the hallway. Mitchell curses. Ah, shit, I forgot about him.
Really?
The trooper races down the hall to James's room, where the young man sits on the floor, his bed toppled over as he struggles against the handcuff at his wrist. He screams for help, begging Mitchell to do something when he enters the room. But Mitchell can only stand in horror at what rests across from him on the opposite side of the overturned bed. Daniel joins Mitchell at the door, James begging them both to fucking shoot it. We pan from the frightened man to the corner of the room, where unearthly cries echo, and we finally see the creature that they're emanating from. There stands a twisted mass of muscle rising in a mound out of the flesh of what used to be a human's back. Long tendrils reach tirelessly for James, an otherworldly moan bellowing through long strands of hair at the whole of what used to be a face. James screams for help, finally prompting Mitchell to fire his weapon, giving Daniel just the opening he needs to race for James, delivering stiff kicks to the railing of the overturned bed, snapping it off and allowing James to slide the cuff down the new opening into freedom. Daniel drags him toward the door, pushing the dumbstruck Mitchell out into the hall with him and slamming the door shut behind all three of them. The terrified trooper demands to know what that thing was, and Daniel can only tremble a guess. I think it was Beverly.
Oh my God.
I know. When I seen this, I'm like, come on, man. What do you want me to do now? What the fuck?
Literally.
Yeah, what is...
I was just so surprised.
Yeah.
I know we saw those fucking things whipping out of her mouth.
Right.
But you do not expect this to be what you see the next time you see Beverly.
No.
Yeah.
And so suddenly she's also back to life and turned into some kind of otherworldly creature.
Mm-hmm.
And also, man, that's pretty fucked up. They just left James alone.
Yeah.
Completely forgotten about. But the design of this thing is incredible.
Yeah. I do like a lot of the look of the creatures and whatever we're going to get into.
Mm-hmm.
It is dark. Some of the stuff is dark, and I was like, oh, I want to see a little more goo or a little something.
That is kind of a problem I have. Even whenever we saw Beverly's face, she's backlit.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if it's a matter of trying to hide the low budget.
Yeah.
Right.
Rather than having these things on display in full brightness.
Yeah.
It does work.
It does.
And maybe the darkness does help with some of that, because you never for a moment are like, oh, well, that looks good.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
It looks amazing every single time.
Mm-hmm.
But behind their backs, James snags a couple of discarded objects on the floor. a scalpel, and a pair of surgical scissors. I know we just saw something crazy in there.
Yeah.
But you gotta pay attention, you two police officers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Daniel then descends the hallway back into the lobby, telling Allison that they're leaving now. He crashes through the glass barrier for an emergency fire axe, seizing it against Powell's protests, who calls out, "Hey, that's not a good idea, Daniel." Why?
Okay.
Yeah. What?
Well, maybe it's not a good idea, if you understand.
Okay.
We just don't know it yet.
Yeah.
Maybe someone worked really hard on that creature.
Right.
But Allison stops Daniel before he re-enters the hallway, asking him what they're supposed to do about those fucking lunatics outside. But Daniel assures her that they have other things to worry about instead. He says this and he goes, there's other things to worry about. Believe me. And then 3 more times in the next 10 minutes, he's like, believe me. And it's like, this is a very interesting catchphrase. But he calls out to a shaken Mitchell, directing him to join him outside to go get their cars. He snaps, "You with me?" But mentally, Mitchell is still in the room with the thing that was once Beverly. Maggie and Ben join the group at the front door, the teenager jumping when a loud noise is heard from outside. And exiting their vehicle in the parking lot, armed as they approach the front door of the hospital, are the father and the son from the beginning of the film.
So much has gone on that I forgot
Yeah.
all of the unpleasantness at the very top.
James seems to snarl as he takes notice of them. And as they enter the building, he slinks around the frenzied group to seize Maggie by the arm, clutching her in a headlock and putting the stolen scalpel to her throat. The father raises his rifle, aiming it past Maggie and right at James, the son flanking his father with an axe of his own, and Mitchell instinctively drawing his service weapon upon the father. Daniel stands at the center of it all, imploring the father to put the gun down. But upon turning around and discovering the quasi-hostage situation there, he bellows, "Whoa! Everybody calm down!"
Please.
James orders everyone to stay the fuck away from him, but we creep back into the hallway, where the thing that was once Beverly has made its way to the window of the door, its misshapen frame silhouetted through the opaque glass. Loud bashes and the shattering of glass are heard distantly in the lobby as tension rises all around the room, Powell taking it upon himself to defuse the situation, calmly approaching James and Maggie, imploring the young man to put down the scalpel, promising him that if he does, this will all be over. He comforts the frightened Maggie, who is held tightly in the arms of the rattled James, James shouting that he doesn't know what to fucking do. But when Powell gets too close, James makes his move, jutting the sharp end of the scalpel right into the doctor's throat. Blood sprays from his fresh wound as a look of surprise settles in his eyes, and Allison rushes to his aid. But Daniel then approaches the jittery James, attempting to appeal to him, but James just roars that they're not going to die in this fucking place. Daniel assures him that nobody wants to be here any longer than they have to. But aiming down the sight of his rifle, the father is certain that James isn't going anywhere. But a frenzied and fully distracted James falls victim to a sneak attack from Ben, who grabs the wrist of his weapon hand before clocking him sternly across the jaw. But with one problem solved, another arises when the double doors at the end of the hall suddenly yawn open. The thing that was once Beverly reaches its long tentacled fingers into the lobby, seizing Mitchell by the throat and torso and dragging him down the hall, the doors closing behind them, leaving the father to wonder, what the fuck was that thing?
Yeah, good question.
Very good.
I feel like him getting dragged away did not get the proper attention.
No, it felt like we were missing some frames of it.
Yeah. Mitchell seemed like he never kind of fully recovered anyway.
No.
Because when we are having this little scuffle back and forth, he's not even pointing the gun at them anymore. He's just kind of like moving it around. And it's like, dude, you're just frightened.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was interesting to me too, though, that like the father and the son seem to be on this mission or something. James seems to know something. They seem to know something. But even the father was like, what the fuck was that? Like, he doesn't even know what that is.
Because that's the other thing. The more that we go, it seems like they would know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or at least have an idea of kind of what's going on.
Right?
And fucking Mitchell, you're right. Because James, that's his con.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know? And he's just like, I guess I'll point it at the father. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a little rattled. But Daniel snaps into action, retrieving his axe in pursuit of the monster, while Allison and Ben tend to Maggie, who sobs on the floor. But Daniel creeps cautiously through the hallway with his axe at the ready, Mitchell's pained cries beckoning him forward. A light hangs at the center of the corridor, flickering off and on as it swings left to right, and in the intermittent darkness, we spy Mitchell, captured in the creature's clutches, the long tendrils of its fingers wriggling deeper and deeper into the vacancies of Mitchell's eye sockets. This looks amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it was another one that I was like, I don't know how you're doing this for this budget.
Yeah.
But the creature shrieks madly, dropping Mitchell to the floor and batting Daniel away when he gets too close, sending the officer colliding with the wall and clattering to the floor. The father and son join the proceedings, and when the elder reaches to fire his rifle, he finds it to be empty. But the youth continues onward with his axe against his father's protests.
That was a little funny to me that he came around the corner, he didn't reload.
I don't know why.
Like, come on, man.
It's like, you hear that thing?
Yeah, straight up. I'm coming over here. I've never heard that noise in my life.
No.
What the fuck?
I gotta be prepared.
Yes.
They're very disappointing under pressure, I think is
Yeah. And then he drops the bullet and it just tickles on the tickles. I'm disappointing, I guess. It just like fucking whatever across the floor. And it's just like
Skitters.
There you go. It's a comedy of errors, I'm trying to say. I was tickled by what happened. But the son swings the axe sharply into the creature, only seeming to piss it off, however. Its back suddenly splinters open, a misshapen mass rising from its spine, its surface similar to that of a brain, with folds and ridges embedded throughout. But just as this awful appendage makes its appearance, the father finally reloads his rifle, firing a shot through this perceived vulnerability, the mass bursting with blood and spattering against the hospital wall. As the creature recoils in vibrant pain, the father races to retrieve Daniel's dropped axe, swinging it in unison with his son into the monster's malformed flesh, again and again, blood and pus pouring from its many wounds until it is weakened into submission.
They said that they were beating this creature, which was a stunt person in a costume.
Yeah.
So intensely for real that the heads of those fake axes came off.
Oh,
God.
I'm like, dude, maybe don't do that.
They're really going after it,
yeah,
though.
it's not real.
No, it's not. It's not a real monster.
Yeah.
This kind of made me think of, and it's not scary, but it made me think of Futurama when was it Schleem or Schlurm? He was just wanting to date them, and he had the tentacles going through him.
Schlee and Schlur. Yeah. You know?
I don't know why, but
I don't either.
Maybe it was also an influence. I don't know.
yeah.
We just need love, I think, is the.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But when Mitchell gurgles on the ground with the creature's tentacles still slithering into his eyes and mouth, the father destroys this connection. But to Daniel's abject horror, the father then turns the axe on Mitchell, and with 3 swift whacks, he decapitates the poor trooper, putting him out of his misery. The villain vanquished, blood raining down the walls around them, the father drops his axe, struggling to catch his breath from the monstrous mayhem.
So I keep talking a lot about escalation.
Yes.
It just keeps going up.
Yeah. I took it kind of as like he took Mitchell. If we don't finish Mitchell off, maybe it'll come back.
Yeah, and it does. You're right, because it kind of seems like this understood thing.
Yeah.
Because maybe it was less like putting him out of his misery and more preventing a future problem.
Right.
Which is pretty terrifying.
Yeah.
But back in the lobby, a tearful Allison covers Powell's body with a white sheet. Her somber silence is interrupted, though, by the returning Daniel, who rushes into the room, ordering everyone to get into the office. Ben grabs Maggie to do as they were told, but Allison stays with Daniel, reaching for him and demanding to know what the hell that thing was in the hall. Daniel just responds that he isn't going to argue with her. It's like,
That made me laugh.
I know.
It's like, we're not going to talk about this here. But her insistence finally inspires the officer's honesty. I don't know what's in there. But as he begs her to join the others, the father and son re-enter the lobby, Allison breezing past Daniel and demanding to know who they are. The father just pushes Allison out of the way to continue on his path, but Daniel stands in his way now, attempting to reason with him, but the father makes his intentions clear, telling Daniel, I want him, pointing past the officer and to the unconscious James. Daniel tries to defuse the situation, reminding the father that he's sure they've all agreed that they need to get the hell out of here, chalking whatever he's got going on with James to personal differences.
Really?
So you guys had a disagreement or whatever?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, there is a lot of stuff going on, and I don't feel like our temperament matches the shit that we just saw.
No.
Yeah.
But before Daniel can continue, the father bashes him in the mouth with the handle of the axe. Daniel collapses to the floor, and with his foot on the deputy's chest, the father intones, no one is going anywhere. Daniel and Allison, left with no choice, agree to these terms. But the father then turns his attention to his son, stating that they don't know anything about this place, and if James led them here, then they can't trust anyone. He raises his axe to finish Daniel off, but Allison pleads with him and his son to stop. Allison then appeals just to the son, but the father reveals that he can't answer her, and he shouts for his son to show her. This is when the young man pulls down the collar of his coat, where at his throat rests a wrap of blood-stained gauze. The father explains that that's what the last people he trusted did to him.
Did that happen tonight?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, it's fresh. He's still bleeding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This really does inspire further questions.
Yes. Yeah, it does.
Because we have them bursting into that house and killing that lady and trying to kill James. But is this them going from house to house to house? You know what I mean?
Right.
But then who did you trust?
Yeah.
Who hurt you?
Recently.
Yeah. Not only that, I'll be honest, there's a couple of times, and this is kind of one of them. I don't think it matters if Daniel's a cop or not. Because he doesn't really like act it. Sometimes he's very just like, I'm an asshole, or like I'm like annoyed or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and I know bad shit is going down, but most of the time, if something like this is going on, it's like, oh, officer of the law, hey, what's going on? Or, hey, the dude does have a handcuff, even if it's on one hand and he's free. Hey, what, do you know what you have there, officer? Do you know what's going on? It's just very like if he was some dude and
no, he's got no authority.
Yeah.
No.
And Mitchell taking his gun, it's like he doesn't even have that perk of being a police officer.
That's honestly true. They in a second, they need a reason for him to have a shotgun in his truck.
Yeah.
But really, you're right. I think Mitchell could have handled all the law enforcement this film needs.
Yeah.
Because there's really nothing else.
Yeah, it's just, it feels weird. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying, like about how some of the characters I just didn't understand. And it is that because I get that we get him to have James to make sure he's here.
Mm-hmm.
But then other than that, and then like you're saying, the shotgun, that's it. Like he doesn't need to be a cop.
It literally, it could have just been some dude. He finds James on the side of the road.
Yeah.
Takes him to the nearest hospital.
Hell, he could just have a shotgun in his truck.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's it.
But from the ground and beneath the father's boot, Daniel promises that he can trust them. But this isn't enough for the father, who raises his axe again. Allison attempts to wrestle it away from him, only to be knocked to the floor with ease. But the son rushes over, holding his father back. And as Daniel collects Allison from the ground, the father gives his son the Denzel. Get your fucking hands off me! When he is unhanded, the father asks, "Do you want to go through all of this again?" A question that is never answered in this film.
No.
Really.
Mm-mm.
What have you gone through?
Yeah.
I know there's a backstory that we get little peeks of through a really horrific flashback later.
Right.
But that has nothing to do with this.
No. And if we're only going off what we've seen at the very beginning, you guys look like the bad guys.
Honestly,
Yes.
yes. And you're still kind of acting like
Yeah.
you just pushed the woman to the ground. But Daniel just tries to meet the men halfway with his confusion, knowing that they saw what he saw in the hall. Those things growing out of Beverly. What was that? But the father just turns his attention to his son, suggesting that they just burn what's left of this place and take them all with it.
Damn.
A little harsh.
Yeah.
But Allison approaches them, doing her best to appeal to their better nature. She reminds them that they haven't done anything to them, and explaining that in the other room is a pregnant girl, and she needs to get her somewhere safe. The father snarks, "Are you fucking kidding?" imploring her to take a look outside, insisting that there's nowhere to go. He says that you can hear those horns for miles, that there's something calling them all here. Quick question, does anyone remember hearing any horns?
No.
No. No. Yeah, no.
I was like, I didn't write anything about horns. But when Daniel asks several follow-up questions back to back, the father just responds with a shout, giving him the old primal fear. How the fuck should I know? Daniel accepts this, but states that all he knows is that that thing woke up once already, and he doesn't want to be around when it happens again. And with that, Allison and the men gather Mitchell's body onto a gurney, setting it ablaze and wheeling it out of the hospital and into the parking lot. They stand at the door in the golden light of the fire, but they're soon interrupted by Kim, who guides Allison and Daniel into the office, telling them that it's Maggie and that she didn't know what to do. And I will say I'm assuming that it's Mitchell's body that they throw out there. It could be Cliff. I don't think that it's Beverly.
Right.
Because it's not misshapen enough.
Yeah.
So I don't know. They're never really clear about that. But in the office, Maggie sits in an office chair with Ben at her side, Allison rushing to check on her. The fearful teenager asks if they're leaving, only for Daniel to dash her hopes immediately. The father and son then join the proceedings with a watchful eye and a threatening aura. But they finally set down their axes, the father lighting up a smoke, much to Allison's annoyance, the nurse ordering him to put it out. I do understand completely, of course. But he is about 20 feet away from her, and even Daniel goes, ow. Like, to get her to calm down, which is kind of funny. But before things can get too tense, Daniel just asks everyone to remain calm. But Ben rises from his squat, calling bullshit and declaring that they should have been out of here already. The father then steps forward, scolding them, telling them that they need to wake up. Kim snarks. Or what? It's like, who the hell are you?
Yeah, I know.
I forgot about her completely.
Yeah.
But why now is not the time. Like it's just not.
Yeah.
But the father asks honestly, do you think you'll stand a chance if there's another one of those things out there? He continues, going way too far, and his accent slipping quite a bit.
Yeah.
He asks, who's going to stop it? Grandpa? The teenage fucking slut?
Slut is entirely too much.
Yeah.
She's very young. Like, leave her the fuck alone. But if memory serves correctly, Grandpa was handling his own earlier.
He was. Yeah.
So maybe Grandpa's one to have on the team.
That's true. You have these two officers that are like, hey, what do we do? And then he just fucking socks the dude.
Yeah.
He did.
But this comment earns the father a proper slap across the face from Allison. Daniel then rushes to keep the two apart as Kim paces behind them, her strength evaporated as she whines that they're all going to die. That's a far cry from, or what?
Yeah.
It's like, what happened? But the father disagrees. We're not gonna die. You're gonna die. Daniel promises that he isn't gonna let that happen. But as the man returns to his son, Daniel pulls Allison aside. He whispers that he doesn't know what the fuck she's trying to do, but she needs to calm down. Allison defends her actions, explaining that the father is upsetting Kim and that is not good. I was like,
What? You wouldn't like Kim, would you say?
I was going to say.
It's like, we got to tread lightly. Why, though?
I think maybe Maggie we should try to keep from being upset.
She points over to Kim when she says it. And so I assumed it was Kim, and Maggie's just sitting there like she doesn't even give a shit.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm so puzzled at this line. Daniel understands, but he quickly changes the topic to ask about Maggie's condition. Allison quietly shares that Maggie's contractions are still spread out, but she's having abdominal pains, which is a bad sign. Daniel, the scholar, replies, I do not know what that means.
Come on.
So Allison explains that it means they can't move her. It could make things a lot worse. She adds that the last thing that she needs right now is to be performing a cesarean in the middle of all of this, but she has nothing here that can help Maggie, and if she doesn't do something, her baby might not survive. She suggests going to the medical supply room alone, which Daniel is obviously against. But as their conversation continues, Kim notices the father and son rifling through their bag on the countertop, and in their frantic search, a small blood-covered baby's shoe tumbles out and onto the floor. The father kneels to retrieve it, clutching it mournfully in his hand, but quickly recovers when he notices Kim watching him.
I don't fully understand what happened here, but it's awful just from that.
Mm-hmm. Just that one visual.
Yeah.
But again, the way they're being aggressive or the way they're like reacting, it's like, did something bad happen? That's why you guys are acting that way? Or is this a trophy? Are you guys what the fuck are you guys doing?
Point, yeah.
Because they are being very still standoffish
They're
and
aggressive.
And the whole we're not gonna die, you're gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
Are you trying to kill us too?
It sounds like a threat.
Yeah.
But Allison doesn't budge, insisting that she's going to the supply room alone. Daniel, with the least amount of tact and humanity possible, asserts, if this is about the whole baby thing, you need to get a fucking mental check. Allison snaps back. Jesus Christ, this isn't about us.
Jesus Christ, indeed. What the fuck is wrong with you? And this is when I was finally like, oh, it was them?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Why are you talking to her like that?
I think my note is this dude for real right now?
Seriously.
Like, I don't, what are you talking about?
It's very puzzling. And again, look, I understand grief. I understand you're in a fucking frightening situation right now.
Yeah.
But where the fuck, why would you say it that way?
Yeah.
Like, it's just so wild. And again, nothing is endearing me to this dude at all.
No.
He got fucking thrown to the ground. A boot on his throat, and then he's talking shit to his wife. And also, he got fucking punched to the wall by a creature, and then the father and son handled it all as he just laid there watching. Like, there's nothing. He is not our hero.
Yeah, I don't understand.
But Allison breaks things down to the simplest of terms, explaining just how dire this situation is for Maggie and her baby, and Daniel finally grasps the gravity of what she's saying, and he allows her to go, but only on the condition that she doesn't go alone and that she waits for him, and Allison promises to. The wounded officer then makes his way over to the father and son, sarcastically asking, "May I approach?"
This is really funny.
Yeah.
Because when they kind of stepped away, they were like, we're not going to die. You're going to die.
Let's do a quick inventory.
And then he's like, may I approach? What is that?
I don't know. But their silence seems to be enough of a permission for Daniel, who explains Maggie's situation to them and that he and Allison need to go get the supplies to help her. The father wonders what Daniel wants from them, and the officer explains that he has a shotgun in his cruiser, as well as ammunition. The father scoffs, reminding Daniel that they just fought their way in here, and he isn't about to stroll out there again. But after admonishing their lack of any real firepower at the moment, Daniel insists that the shotgun is close, and they can do it fast. The father breathes a resigned sigh, but he makes sure that Daniel knows the rules of the game. They're not risking their lives for him, and if they do get their hands on that shotgun, it's theirs. Daniel relents, absolutely, and the father concurs, abso-fucking-lutely. It's like, you already won.
I know.
Yeah, I know.
But I was like, Daniel, what the fuck?
He's like, go ahead,
You
take
got
it.
it, boss.
Yeah, what? Why? But in a really beautiful wide shot, we spy the small light of the hospital interior from the distance beneath the endless evening sky. Daniel sneaks out of the front entrance with the father and son, but to the deputy's surprise, they discover that his cruiser has been moved all the way across the parking lot.
Yeah.
That was so quietly creepy, though.
Yeah.
Because it's like, when the fuck did that happen?
I haven't seen any of you move.
No.
I also love that they still kept it on property.
Yeah. And didn't try to take the gun. They'll make it just inconvenient enough.
Yeah. You get a lot of trouble for that, man.
No shit, dude.
We're already pushing it.
They speculate for a moment about the intentions of the disciples as they peer out into the now empty parking lot, but the father suggests that they just make this quick. Daniel unhooks the key for them to gather the ammunition from the trunk, noting that he has to be the one to release the shotgun in the front seat. But before they can descend into the dark ahead of them, the father seizes Daniel by the shoulder, warning him not to get any bright ideas. The son then leads the way with his axe at the ready, his eagerness annoying his father, who follows close behind with the deputy between them. So this is the second time, I think, that the son has become a little overzealous and gets ahead of everyone.
Yeah.
So I thought that that was going to be something they set up
Mm-hmm.
that will eventually lead to the son's death or something.
Yeah, yeah.
But it just it's just a personality trait. I guess that's just who he is. But back inside the office, Allison and Ben lie Maggie down onto the tiles, Kim covering her with a hospital blanket. Kim worries that the men might not make it back, but Allison assures her that Daniel knows what he's doing. Kim goes full Dante Hicks, whining that she wasn't even supposed to be here today. She says that she should be at Lakeland Hospital instead, turning over patients. She seethes. Fuck this place.
Wow. We're right here.
We are.
And also, none of us want to be here.
No, it's not just you, I promise.
Yeah.
But Allison reminds her that she's stuck with them now, so she needs to just deal with it. Maggie sobs softly beneath her blanket, shivering as Ben rubs her head soothingly. And when Allison checks on her, Maggie can only answer in a cry that it hurts, and she wonders what's going to happen to her baby. Allison shares a concerned glance with Ben before reassuring Maggie that she and her baby are going to be fine. She even gives her word. She then rises to her feet, exiting out into the hall and passing the still unconscious James, who's handcuffed to the railing on the wall. Ben did a fucking number on this dude.
Yeah.
That's wild. But Allison then peers out the front window and into the night, deciding to break her promise to Daniel as she sets off for the supply room all alone. But outside, the men have reached the cruiser, Daniel climbing into the driver's seat and taking his sweet time to work through his key ring to release the shotgun. The son works diligently to empty the trunk of its ammunition, and the father stands guard with his axe. But when he gazes out into the distance, he discovers a disciple standing alone amongst the trees. The father grows impatient, wondering what the fuck Daniel is doing in there, his accent once again slipping. But inside, Allison makes her way through the darkened halls to reach the medical supply room, switching on a flickering light to sort through and gather the necessary supplies. They are all conveniently right in front of her on the same shelf, which was very interesting.
I mean, we're overdue for a little luck, okay?
But when she dips down to retrieve another item, accompanied by a musical sting, we discover a figure standing behind her in the doorway, striking a menacing posture. Somehow, it's Dr. Powell.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I don't remember anything getting to him.
No, he was supposed to be dead under that blanket.
Yeah.
Did she run past that blanket and it's just flat? She didn't even care? But we pull back into the dark corridor before finding ourselves outside again, the father growing even more impatient as a horn blares distantly, the older man taking this as their cue to exit. The cruiser is then suddenly surrounded by similarly dressed disciples, but in the vehicle, Daniel switches on the light, illuminating the frightening figures in alternating red and blue, each member of the threatening throng brandishing a blade in unison. This shot is very cool.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't know why he turned on those lights, but I'm glad he
cool
did.
Shot, yeah.
The father urges Daniel to get a move on, with the officer finally dislodging the shotgun from its mount. The son still stands at the back of the vehicle, but as soon as he shuts the trunk, he finds a disciple standing right behind him, the figure charging forward with his blade, slicing the son across his palm. But before he can go in for the kill, Daniel blows him away with the shotgun, and as he racks it, he decides that he's keeping it.
Okay, thank God.
Yeah.
The trio makes a run for the hospital, but when they return inside, they're doubtful that they'll be able to keep the robed figures out. But they return to the office, and when Daniel finds everyone to be right where he left them, except for Allison, he demands to know where she is. Ben explains matter of fact that she went to go get some medicine for Maggie, and Daniel seethes, shouting for Kim to tell him where. She answers, the med room, and Daniel fumes. Jesus Christ! I know she wasn't supposed to go alone, but I don't know why he was so surprised that that's where she was.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's where she is.
As he exits into the hall, Kim calls out that Allison told her that there wasn't anything to worry about inside, even though Allison never said that to her. But Daniel returns, roaring, "Are you guys in the same fucking building?" Calm finally returns to him, though, and he asks the son to look after everyone here as Kim tends to his wounds, and he then politely invites the father to join him in his search for Allison. As they step out into the hall, the father says that the kid will be fine, but he reveals that the son has been through a lot worse. Those people killed the son's family, and the father says that he barely got him out of there in time.
Did the wording of this make anybody else think that they were not father and son? That like he walked up on something and saved him?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's absolutely what it sounds like.
Yeah.
It really threw me off.
I'll be completely honest. I didn't realize until a little later on that they were father and son.
Oh.
I was like, oh, you saved this dude from somewhere. It's just the way that he says things, and it's like, I don't know. Why are you saying it that way?
I thought they were until he said this.
Me
and
too.
I was like, oh, they don't even know each other.
Yeah, no.
Because I don't know if it's just something if it was just context clues in my mind, the way that they were together, it just seemed very father and son to me. And then when he does say this, it kind of changes everything. And I'm like, oh shit, now do I have to go back and change my script? And because all the times I said his son, his father.
Yeah.
But no, I don't have to change anything because we learn later.
I feel like if you change one word and say they killed our family.
Yeah. And why would you say that?
I don't know.
And it's also kind of strange because it's I don't know, it's fleshing out the story in a way that doesn't really make a lot of sense. Because what is their night?
Yeah.
Was that tonight?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The fact that the wound in his neck is still bloody and what we saw at the beginning, it is kind of like it's leading us to believe that this all happened tonight. But I don't understand how that's I don't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
No.
Especially with these two and what they've been through tonight, ? Or 4 weeks or something. I really don't
It's
know.
unclear.
Yeah.
But Daniel inquires, what about you, man of mystery? Which again only makes it seem like he's so separate from that son.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's like, what's your story?
Yeah.
It's the same fucking story. But the father just tells Daniel to mind his own business before poking his nose into Daniel's business, admonishing Allison as pretty stupid to go running off all by herself. Daniel acknowledges that he's sure the father could beat the shit out of him.
Okay.
But he shares that he considers it a special privilege to hate his wife right now, so he kindly invites the father to shut the fuck up.
What?
Yeah. Well, I don't understand.
He's like, only I can talk shit about my wife.
Yeah.
I don't.
Which, again, is not great.
No.
It's also hilarious to me that the only one armed with a shotgun is like, now I know you could you could beat my ass,
He's like, you'll find a way to take
but
it.
but I'm gonna say it.
But see, even that, it makes me feel like he's just a normal dude. I don't feel like a cop's gonna tell you that. I feel like it would almost work better if the father and son were deputy and a cop or a sheriff. You know what I mean?
Because there's no authority.
Yeah. So I mean, and him being like that, saying that, I know you could probably kick my ass, officer, or whatever, but it's just like, oh, okay, so you're a normal dude or whatever. Because him having the costume on and then saying it, it's like I don't know what's happening.
No, and I don't know if he's just trying to make friends. He's acknowledging it. Like, I don't know. He's like, I'm gonna need your help.
Yes,
You could
yeah.
probably kick my ass. I don't know. But on the floor of the lobby, the men realize that the bloody sheet that once covered Powell now lies flat against the tiled floor. Now faced with another problem to solve, they continue onward into the hall. The pair pass the mess of what's left of the creature they killed, and through the blood and guts, Daniel spies and snags Mitchell's discarded gun. He says, that's Mitchell's gun, like on House of the Dead, when he's like, geez, bloodstains. It's like, how, like, I feel like it would have been a lot better if this was Daniel's gun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That Mitchell took.
Right.
It's not.
It's covered in goo too.
It is.
Yeah, I was.
But they finally reach the medical supply room, the father snagging some supplies for himself, but Daniel setting down the shotgun for a moment when he discovers the bag of medicine that Allison must have left behind. He picks it up, the pair retreating out into the hall, where the faint sound of a telephone ringing captures Daniel's attention. He guides the father over to the source of the sound, kicking open a door which leads to Powell's office. They inch their way forward through the dark to answer the phone on his desk, and we see a light shining next to the labeled names on the speed dial, revealing that the call is coming from the morgue.
Oh, okay. It was already concerning that the phone was ringing because the phones aren't working.
Oh, yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
And now it's coming from inside the house. So, that's cool too.
Daniel lifts up the receiver, only to be greeted by Powell's voice on the other end. Hello, Daniel. He doesn't want to play a game.
Well, thank God for that.
But the officer foolishly asks, who is this?
I know. Come on, man.
No one sounds like this.
No.
No.
Powell reminds him that he saw something. He says that he felt it when Daniel woke up. But what was it? He adds that he can show Daniel more if he'd like. But next to the telephone rests a small box, which the father opens, discovering a book and a stack of Polaroids inside. Leafing through them, the father discovers evidence of ritualistic sexuality, as well as Powell's ties to the disciples outside. Daniel finally realizes who he's talking to, offering into the telephone, "Hi, Richard." Powell assumes that it must be hard for Daniel to understand and acknowledges that it was difficult for Allison to grasp as well, but he assures him that his intentions are altruistic. Daniel stands stoic, pleading for Powell to tell him what he's done. And as Daniel grows more emphatic in his plea, we peer down a dark staircase as Powell finally answers. "You're trying so hard to follow in your father's footsteps, Daniel. Do you really want to follow him where he's gone?"
What?
Yeah, huh?
The stairwell gives way to a dilapidated corridor, a light shining through the window at the center of a faraway door. Powell shares that he understands how desperate loss can make you, reminding Daniel when he brought Allison to him, the life inside of her desperate to get out. And as we spy a photograph resting on Powell's desk of him and his daughter Sarah, played by Mackenzie Sawyer, Powell admits that losing his daughter changed him, but he says he's doing what he has to now to make it right, promising that Daniel will understand soon enough. The father continues his silent investigation of Powell's belongings, flipping through the small book to discover strange writings inside, along with etchings of elaborate glyphs. But Daniel pleads with Powell to just tell him where Allison is, Fury finding him as he shouts into the receiver, "The call is coming from the morgue."
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
I just want to point that out one more time. But Powell's measured voice responds, "Don't worry, Daniel. I'm going to help her. I'm going to help all of you." The score sizzles suspensefully as Daniel hangs up the phone, and we peer once more into the box on Powell's desk, where the father has returned the Polaroids, the photograph resting atop the stack, depicting a black triangle smeared in paint across the front door of a home.
Does Daniel even seem that mad?
Not as mad as he should. He's just like, "I'll call you back later."
Yeah.
Hangs up.
Is there a number where I can reach you?
But that it does explain some things that Powell had said earlier.
Right.
It also explains whenever Daniel grabbed the axe and he's like, no, wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I thought that this was a really cool twist.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
a cool reveal, too.
Yeah, I was not expecting that.
No.
And I do want to say the actor who portrays Powell, his performance is fantastic.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he really did seem like a very comforting presence earlier. And now he's just he's gone.
Yeah.
But Daniel loads his shotgun, returning to the office to drop off the bag of medicine to Kim so that she can look after Maggie and her baby as best she can. Kim protests that Daniel can't just leave them here, but Daniel explains that they don't have a choice. They have to find Allison, since she's the only one who knows how to properly take care of Maggie. Not because she's my wife or anything.
Dude, he does not give a fuck about that lady.
He hands her a radio, which he says that she can use to communicate with them, promising that they'll be back as soon as they can. Ben clutches Maggie's hand, the young girl writhing in pain on the ground beneath her blanket. Kim screams that she doesn't know what half this medication is, pleading with Daniel not to just leave her here. But Daniel seizes her by the arm, imploring her to listen. He says that they're gonna go find Allison and bring her back here, and Kim just needs to hold out until then. But Kim asks fearfully what they're supposed to do if those people outside try to get in, only for Daniel to retort that those people aren't trying to get inside. They're trying to keep them from getting out.
That's not comforting.
No.
Yeah.
He's like, calm down.
Yeah.
They're keeping us here.
We're safe with them there.
Yeah.
But with that, he hands off Mitchell's pistol to Ben, leaving the axe behind as well, just in case they need it. Ben scoffs that he sure hopes Daniel knows what he's doing. And Daniel does not respond.
Yeah.
Which is answer no.
Yeah. Instead, he rejoins the father and son, asking them if they're ready to go. And when the father expresses his doubts about Daniel's plan, Daniel has had enough, seething. If you have something to say, then say it, you smug fuck. He asks the father if he knows what's down there, and he admits that he doesn't. But as he flips through the stack of Polaroids that are now in his possession, even though he left them in the office,
Yeah.
he sets down a hammer, supposing that he knows someone who might. And there, at the top of the stack, is a photograph of James.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Also interesting when you think of who stabbed
Uh-huh.
Powell.
Yeah.
They return to the unconscious James in the hall, the father slapping him awake and shouting, "Hey, meth boy!" Which is like, what?
It's the best he had.
Yeah.
James wakes up with a start, immediately pleading his case and his innocence, only for Daniel to shout at him to save it. James begs for Daniel's help, but the son brandishes a hammer, and the father sits certain that James is going to want to answer his questions. The son picks a finger at his father's request, holding the hammer above it with the implied threat. But all James can muster in response is that it's that fucking doctor, a fact that the three men already know. The son turns the hammer around, hovering the claw over James's hand, but the young man replies frenzied that he killed the doctor. He did them a fucking favor. Daniel, though, reveals that Powell isn't dead anymore, demanding to know how that's possible. James spies the empty sheet resting across from them in the lobby, but before he can offer an answer, the son brings the hammer down, James's pained screams echoing all the way into the office. But when we return to him, we find that the son struck the bar that James is handcuffed to, his hand remaining unharmed.
Okay, drama queen.
He goes, "Oh my God!" It's like, dude, you are perfectly fine. But Daniel seizes him by the face, ordering James to tell them how Powell is still alive, demanding to know what he is. But James doesn't know either, and when the son raises the hammer again, he grows frantic, revealing the truth in a rapid-fire response. He met a girl on the road who promised him that she could help him score some crystal, so he followed her into this fucking pill house, except it wasn't a pill house. Daniel demands to know what it was, and the father seems to have an answer, tossing the stack of photographs to the ground. It was an old farmhouse in the middle of nowhere. All these fucking junkies. He says it was a mess, and it looked like they'd been killing people for a while. But James continues. Powell gave them drugs. He watched them have sex, and he called the place a church. Daniel is doubtful. Powell is some kind of religious sex fiend? He says that his father knew Powell for years. They all did. And he calls bullshit.
Dude, Powell even told you or alluded to something with your dad.
Yeah.
And sorry, but that phone call was terrible.
Yeah.
You have nothing from that you're
Yeah.
thinking about?
He's a real stand-up guy.
Yeah.
You don't get it.
It was weird because that's it. That's
Yeah.
all you're getting out of that?
And it's really odd, especially after that he is defending Powell's honor right
Yeah.
now.
We can't afford the denial thing right now.
No.
Like, the stakes are entirely too high.
He kidnapped your wife.
Yeah.
He's speaking cryptic as fuck. And you're like, you expect me to believe.
And all the pictures.
Yes. I'm over this dude. But through the stack of photos, James finds one of the disciples in their robes, explaining that there were a bunch of people dressed just like this. They did killings and sacrifices, and they made them watch. The father asks if he's suggesting that they were worshiping the devil, but James denies this with a pretty cool line. I don't believe in the devil, but I believe in this. He says that Powell made people change, and he saw it himself. This seems to be enough for Daniel, who finally unlocks the cuff at James's wrist, the young man thanking him. But Daniel isn't so sure that he should be doing that, as they're planning to take him with them to go meet Powell in the basement. James begs for them just to leave, to just get out of here. But with the building still surrounded by disciples, the father implores James to go for it, be his guest. James is then dragged along with them, as he insists that this is suicide, that the three of them are as crazy as the cultists. And Daniel relents. Yeah, maybe.
Good one.
Yeah, what?
But the four men descend into the burned out bowels of the hospital, Daniel's flashlight and shotgun leading the way. So this area of the hospital, they had a completely separate location that they wanted to use, and it was actually an abandoned hospital in the city.
Oh.
But when it was finally time for them to actually film these portions after all those delays, they go to the location only to find out that it's unsafe for anyone to be inside there at all.
Oh, shit.
And so what they did is took the second floor of the same school and they turned it into this.
That was really a gift that kept on giving.
Yeah.
Wild.
It's incredible.
Damn.
Kim calls in on the radio, guiding them to a stairwell at the end of the hall, which she says should lead to a basement. Daniel lets the father and son take point, the pair pulling James along with them until they reach the stairwell. Peering down the dark steps, the father notices something, a trail through the debris down the steps, like someone was dragged down there by someone else. The father stands at the top of the steps with his axe in a very Jack Torrance-like posture.
Yeah.
But over the radio, Kim guides them forward toward the morgue, but Daniel can't seem to locate it, faced instead with a labyrinth of corridors. He asks Kim if she's sure that they're in the right place. Ben grumbles at Kim's side. They went down the wrong stairs. But an annoyed Kim assures them that there's only one set of stairs. The men continue onward, the radio crackling and leading to moments of miscommunication, but they're finally able to get through to Kim again, Daniel asking if there's some kind of sub-basement in the hospital. Kim asks Daniel to clarify, and he does. A staircase going down. Kim has no idea what he's talking about, but Daniel sees no other option but to descend. And this is a frightening situation.
Yeah.
It makes me think of the Blair Witch Project where the forest is changing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or they keep being led into circles because the geography makes no sense.
Right.
It's like the building is changing too.
Yeah.
Which is really eerie.
Yeah, and the drag mark was...
Yeah,
like,
no,
I don't want to
dude.
do this no more.
But before they can go down the steps, the father turns to the son, telling him that he can't ask him to follow them down here, and the son nods in silent understanding. But after radioing in that they're going downstairs, the group forces James out front to lead the way against his fearful protests. But as their lights beam into the dark depths of the sub-basement, Allison awakens in the morgue, looking worse for wear. She struggles weakly against her restraints, her weary eyes blinded by the blurry lights around her, but a deep voice responds to her movements. Don't bother. You won't be able to move. Allison recognizes the voice. It's Powell, facing away from her, hard at work at a counter across the room. He urges her to be patient, as he's almost ready. Allison responds in confusion, remembering that she saw him die. But accompanied by small snipping noises, Powell simply responds that he had no idea it would feel like this. The time he spent operating on people, opening them up, and stitching them back together again. He calls the feeling remarkable, not pain, but more a sense of release. He washes the blood away from his scissors in the sink, turning the water rusty. But when Allison attempts to make sense of what's going on, Powell tells her to be quiet, adding that they've entered uncharted territory, a chance to study his own transformation. He tears a scrap of rotten flesh free from his arm, dropping it into a metal tray to join its sickening siblings, slick like oil as it slides down to the bottom.
This is real bad.
Yeah.
This is just worse than anything I could have thought he was doing down here.
Well, if you're willing to do that to yourself,
Exactly.
I'm in trouble.
Right. I heard a long time ago, like, if you're wanting to avoid a fight, you start punching yourself, and they'll think you're so crazy. They're like, I don't want to fucking fight this dude. And I feel like this is kind of what Powell's got going on.
If you feel like someone's going to fillet you, you just start doing it to yourself.
But Powell acknowledges Allison's hesitation, though he asks a sincere question. All these years, have you ever wished to save someone beyond saving, no matter what the cost? Flat on her back, Allison crumbles to tears, but Powell retreats to memory, at the side of his daughter's hospital bed, heartbroken, defeated, admitting that losing Sarah destroyed him, but it also compelled him to find a solution. As he stares at his ruined hand in the low light, he adds, "You'd be surprised at the things you find when you go looking." Chef's kiss.
So good.
Yeah.
Such a great line.
And the degloving foreshadowing from earlier.
Yeah.
One thing I will say is I feel like this conversation probably should have happened before he called Daniel, because he's talking a lot about Allison and her reaction to everything.
Yeah.
But she's been asleep this whole time.
Right.
Yeah.
And only now are we getting it. So,
yeah, you're right.
But down in the sub-basement, the four men make their way into a brick-walled room, James leading the way and Daniel arcing his flashlight and shotgun over a triangular-shaped glyph carved into the floor. I think this is the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The father laments that it smells like a grave in here, and the son cracks open a flare, tossing it across the floor and illuminating the room in a sizzling red light.
Just a couple things.
Oh,
I
no.
think we've talked about, kind of where this film maybe has a couple shortcomings and where it excels. But I think we haven't really touched on how many subgenres it spans.
Jesus Christ.
We have cosmic horror, we have body horror,
These are true.
and we have giallo.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel a void where my heart should be.
I'm genuinely thrilled because you've been off the hook for way too long. I'm like,
Nice.
do we not put red lights in movies? What the hell's going on?
Well, this movie's 10 years old, so maybe.
But it's cool. I had no idea The Void was a giallo. So
It's because it's not.
anyway,
Well,
what were
there's
you
a glove. They talk about a glove.
There's a glove, a D glove,
Yeah.
red lights. Like what?
Police investigation.
What
What,
do
am I
you-
doing?
Stockholm syndrome.
But James seems to recognize the room. He's been here before. The father explains that this glyph was all over the house that they cleaned out. James just shudders that Powell made them look at things, the worst things he's ever seen. But the father continues that they found rooms full of bodies in the basement of that place, some bodies left on tables, like they were doing surgeries down there. Bodies half turned into one of those things. But James says that it was worse than that, like a nightmare. Tears filling his eyes, he begins to pant, attempting to shield himself from the reality of it, insisting that it isn't real. But a low rumble emanates all around them, the camera pulling back into a corridor as the father surmises that it's a rat's maze. But back in the office, Kim is still trying to make contact on the radio, but with zero success. In front of her, Maggie mumbles, "Is he here?" Kim attempts to soothe her, and speaking through delirium, Maggie adds within a cry, "He has to be here for the baby." At this point, I think that the subtitles gave up, which
Oh, no.
had me cracking up, because they said instead of "he has to be here for the baby," which is very clearly heard, it says, "He has took me here to baby." Which could not make less sense if you tried.
Oh my God. Once again, call me.
I know.
I'll do the job.
But Ben assures his granddaughter that he's right here, promising that it's all right and she's going to be fine. Kim says that she's lucky her grandfather cares about her so much. Her grandfather just yells at the TV and smokes. I don't know the rules of this world, but he's probably a monster now.
Yeah.
And you're sitting here talking shit about him.
I fucking hate my grandpa, dude.
But a pained scream suddenly escapes Maggie, and Ben pleads with Kim to help her. Please. Kim searches through the medicines to find something to calm her down, and she struggles with a syringe, but with Ben's help, she's able to administer the medication. Maggie finally and properly soothed.
I hope that was what was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Because she goes down immediately.
Yeah.
Mhm. But down in the sub-basement, the men venture forward, stopping dead in their tracks when the beam of their flashlights find a door, which is smeared sloppily with a black triangle. James refuses to go any further, urging them to just fucking shoot him instead. But Daniel is suddenly made weak by visions. A ruined plastic tray with a tattered blanket resting inside of it. Daniel distraught as he rests at the side of an anguished Allison in her hospital bed. A triangular shape appearing above a barren wasteland through the clouds. And finally, the silhouette of a fleshless face rising in the dark, a low light shimmering across the slick muscle of its cheek. Daniel is then shaken back to reality by the father, but Stone's certainty finds the deputy sheriff, who insists against the father's hesitance that this is where they need to go. He pushes the door open, his flashlight guiding his way inside, and the son follows him into the darkness despite his father's warnings. And after a moment, the father joins them, forcing James forward in front of him as they're swallowed by the shadows of the room. Powell's voice asks, "Do you know where you go when you die? I do." He says that you travel on, becoming something else, like a caterpillar becoming a moth. We return to the morgue, Powell telling Allison that until now, he's only been able to track the moth in its cocoon, noting that the body has to adjust and adapt, admitting that humans weren't built for this kind of thing, and that early on, he made mistakes. And some of those mistakes are still down here with them. I think, honestly, everything featuring Powell is fantastic.
Uh-huh.
Because this sets up, already you're at a heightened level of fear because you're like, what the fuck are they going to find down here?
Right.
And now we've been told.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, is fucking Infantata down here? What do you mean mistakes? What does that mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It breezes by. It's like, we can't all start as professionals. But in fact, Powell says that they caused the fire that destroyed this hospital. They want to die, but Powell won't let them. We glide over Powell's files, scribbled paperwork, and Polaroids of monstrous figures attached to each of them. Allison breaks into sobs, but Powell urges her not to cry, reminding that he's here to help her. This is an end to the cycle of life and death. He asks if she really wants this world, the world that took her son from her. He asks if she knows what happened that night to her unborn child. Despite her pleas for him not to, Powell goes into grave detail of what happened to him and how his life slipped away inside of her. He calls it nature's futility, but insists that he can stop it and that this is the first real step, a true resurrection. He declares, "I lost my daughter to the abyss, but tonight I'm calling her back." Allison begs Powell not to do this, but the doctor approaches her bedside, the flesh of his face torn away to the slick muscle beneath, blood staining the front of his white lab coat as he retorts, "But it's already done." Allison shudders as Powell pulls away the blanket on top of her, revealing her naked torso and something undulating rhythmically beneath the bruised skin of her stomach. Flesh hanging in ribbons at his cheeks, Powell intones, "You're so beautiful, Allison. You will become something truly remarkable." The camera pulls back, Allison reduced to tears as she gazes down at her belly, which ripples endlessly from something inhuman inside.
This is so horrific
Mm-hmm.
and traumatizing, and it's awful.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the effects work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it just all looks so good. And you can tell how they shot it, but it doesn't take away at all from the visual of what we
No.
see.
Not at all.
No.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, that I really liked that. It is heavy what's going on, but her stomach, the way it looks, I was like, damn.
But through the door in the sub-basement, the flashlights carve paths through the dark, illuminating Powell's malformed and monstrous experiments. The sun cracks open another flare, disfigured bodies hanging from chains, an array of organs, carved corpses occupying slabs of metal. The father can only breathe. This is a slaughterhouse. James shrieks in traumatized terror, but the father orders him to shut the fuck up, lamenting that he didn't just kill him back at the house. It's like, this dude's been through a lot, man. But Daniel urges them both to get a hold of themselves. They are then interrupted by a loud growl, which echoes through a corridor nearby, the shot growing jittery and unfocused. In the office, however, Kim assesses that Maggie's temperature is rising, but when she goes to remove the blanket covering her, she discovers a bright stain of blood marring Maggie's pink dress between her legs. She screams, Ben begging her to do something, but all Kim can do is flip frantically through her medical textbook, finding a small section in the chapter of pregnancy and childbirth. C-section. I will say it is literally a paragraph and a photograph. It is not WikiHow. Like, there is nothing here.
No.
We need to break this down.
But down in the sinister surgical suite, Daniel orders the father to lay off James, but the older man is certain that James knows something he isn't telling. But all of a sudden, a baby's cry distracts the father from interrogating James, and when he turns to face the source of the sound, through the red light of the flare, the father finds the mother, played by Trish Raynon DeLuzio, standing there, pleading with him. "We need you with us." A high-pitched ring shrieks within the father's ears, the world warbling around him as James realizes what's going on. Powell is in his head. And for some reason, this prompts the father to beat the shit out of James, and Daniel has to pull him off.
Yeah.
It's like, this group sucks.
We're-
Dude.
Yeah. Wow.
Jesus Christ. And again, you said you know more than you're saying. That's something.
Yeah.
That Powell has this ability to get inside your head.
Yeah.
But he's like, shut the fuck up, and just starts kicking his ass. But they're soon interrupted by an odd squelching sound from across the room. The son and the deputy arcing their flashlights in its direction to discover what it is. And there, bathed in red light, stands an eyeless creature, the flesh of its face torn away and its jaw ripped off. A long pipe juts out in front of it, and we watch as it draws its misshapen head back, impaling itself over and over again, the pipe stabbed into the vacancy at its forehead and pulverizing what's left of its brain with a sickening squish.
Jesus, dude.
Yeah, can we get regular zombies?
I
don't like this.
And it's sad because he's right. They do want to die.
Yeah.
Like, that's a whole new level of horrific.
Yeah.
Mhm. But discovering that it isn't alone, it turns to face the men, their flashlights shining cleanly through the hollowed-out hole in its head, and the father mutters a macabre realization. We're in hell. Suddenly, the men are surrounded by Powell's preliminary projects, monstrous masses, each more misshapen and miserable than the last. The son aims the shotgun, blasting the figures who encroach them, their brains splattering against the dingy sub-basement walls.
I think that I was getting shades of it before, kind of when we're up in the kind of regular looking hospital, and then we come down to the horrors that are underneath it. But seeing these creatures and the way that they move, I'm like, this is 1000% Silent Hill.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it is so Silent Hill coded, this whole sequence.
Mhm.
And I love every second of it.
Me
Oh,
too.
yeah.
They had talked, of course, about all their influences, and they are kind of disparate depending on who's talking, which one of the directors. But Silent Hill was the thing that bridged both of them together.
You feel it. You feel it for sure.
And you said what? Dude's name is Gillespie. Isn't that Alessa's last name?
Oh my God.
Shit.
He's like, it's a story very dear to my heart.
I will say they had talked about getting these actors to portray these creatures.
Yeah.
And they said that they were just random people that they got to be part of the production. It wasn't people, at least these creatures
Yeah.
were not straight up creature actors. But he said that they tried to coach them, telling them like the motivations of these monsters and what maybe their backstory was and how to portray them.
Oh, I love that.
And he said, though, that no matter what they told any of them, whenever they said action, they all just acted like zombies. And so they're like, you know, what the hell, sure.
But I feel like that's so, as far as like creature work, that
Yes.
is so baked in
Yeah.
for at least a few generations. So like, that's really funny.
And I know that it was like not what they wanted, but I think that it works for how miserable they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not anything that it's like, oh, why are they all? No, it's kind of perfect.
Yeah, no, it fits.
But things aren't much better in the office, where Kim steels herself with a scalpel over Maggie's pregnant stomach as Ben holds his granddaughter to the floor. Glass shatters distantly, and Ben realizes that's the front entrance. It's like, what are you, the narrator? Really? But tension rises as the blade of the scalpel in Kim's shaky hand hovers over the flesh of Maggie's stomach, only for her to insist that she can't do this. Ben reminds her that she has to. But back in the sub-basement, the father spies a distant vision of the mother, pushing past the encroaching creatures to follow her into a faraway corridor. The son, however, continues firing, giving a few of the ghouls the true death that the doctor claimed they desired. Daniel then guides James deeper into the room, away from the creatures and into a section that appears to be empty. But the pair pass a tattered tarp, which suddenly ripples, soon giving way to the rising monster within it. The sleepwalker, played by Troy James, arches his back, contorting creepily and crawling across the floor like a twitching spider.
This is terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah.
They had said that he sent in an audition tape doing this.
Oh, wow.
And that there was nothing like this in the film at all. And then when they saw him, they were like, we need to write in a creature that can do that because we need him.
Yeah.
It is so unsettling.
It's perfect, though.
Yeah, it works. It looks like it belongs here, and it is very fucking scary.
Yes.
And Troy James is such a familiar name.
Mm-hmm. He did work in Malignant in 2021. He also was in the newer Hellboy from 2019. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. That was 2019.
He was the dude. You remember?
Oh, yeah. Dude, that's fucking cool.
Yeah.
What a skill to have.
I know.
Yeah.
But at the sight of this creature, this is when, for some reason, James decides to leap onto Daniel's back, prompting an unnecessary tussle, with Daniel very quickly gaining the upper hand. As he backs away from James's prone body, he watches as the sleepwalker seizes him, dragging him around the corner and into the dark. James screams defenseless as the sleepwalker grabs a handful of his hair and bashes his face to bits against the cold concrete. I don't know why he did that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
Because it looked like he was trying to lead him out of there, that they were going to get away from this section into wherever they think Powell is.
Yeah.
Because they kind of, I don't know why, it seems like they need James.
Yeah.
But that's it. He's dead.
He's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that was just his breaking point. I don't know. Like, this is a lot to take in.
It is.
But back in the office, Ben promises to keep Kim safe from the disciples with the gun that Daniel gave him, begging the tearful intern to do what needs to be done. His pleas become more desperate as he approaches a cowering Kim, but suddenly, Ben's throat is torn open from behind, blood spraying from his fresh wound and across Kim's startled face. As the elderly man collapses in a heap to the floor, Kim discovers Maggie standing behind him, wearing a sinister grin and clutching the scalpel in her hand. Kim sobs as she sinks to the floor. "Why did you do that?" But through her emotions, Maggie answers, "Dr. Powell is a great man. I'm lucky to carry his child."
What?
Yeah, what the fuck?
I truly thought that this was like another instance of this theme of pregnancy and birth and loss and family. And I thought that she was just another example of these themes that are running through this film.
Yes.
I never put together that she was involved in any, my jaw dropped. I truly was not expecting that at all.
It did surprise me as well. I was like, what do you mean his child?
Yeah,
Or
this is fucking wrong on many levels.
But it also, you think about one of the first lines that she said at the beginning of the film, where she says, Dr. Powell says the baby's almost here. And it doesn't feel creepy then because you're like, oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But now it's just like, oh shit, you know? And poor Ben. What
I
did he do? He's done nothing wrong.
No.
He was so supportive.
Yeah. He knocked that guy out.
He knocked that guy out for a long time.
Yeah. But Maggie smiles with serenity that nothing else matters now. All the lights in the building suddenly shut off, and beneath the red emergency glow in the hall, Kim shrieks when she sees a pair of disciples who have broken into the building. Kim seizes the axe that Daniel left behind, cowering in the corner as Maggie joins the disciples in the hall. She promises Kim not to worry because everything is going to change. Seems like a good reason to be worried.
Yeah.
But after she exits into the hall, Kim makes a break for it, attempting to exit into the lobby, only to discover through the windows of the door that her only path is blocked by a mass of cultists. She hightails it in the other direction, watching Maggie disappear through a door at the opposite end of the hall, traipsing childlike through the red light. But Kim finds sanctuary in a supply closet, dipping into it and slamming the door behind her. But down in the sub-basement, the son runs off alone through the darkness, creeping cautiously through a corridor, only to somehow find himself in the hallway of his family home, the walls creaking all around him. His flashlight arcs over to discover a photograph on the wall. It features him, the father, the mother, and his baby sister, all gathered together on the couch in much better times. So this is his father. It's clear.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
But in the living room, the son finds the father facing away from him and talking to himself, pleading with an unknown entity to know what he has to do. But the son's encroachment interrupts this conspicuous conversation, the father turning to face him with ire in his eyes as he declares, "This is your fault." He charges the son, pushing the shotgun up against his throat to choke him, wrestling him to the ground. The father forces the firearm downward, shouting that the son was supposed to protect them. And in quick flashes and amidst the tearful cries of an infant, the father whispers that mother wants them to stay. We spy the rubble of the mother's corpse lying in a pool of blood, along with a smaller body wrapped in a blanket. The father shrieks, "You should have protected them!" But in their struggle, the son is able to retrieve another flare, igniting it and forcing its heat to the father's stomach, the older man recoiling backward in pain. And as soon as he hits the floor, we spy the pair down a long corridor, back in the sub-basement, the father crawling to the corner and the son rising to his feet, fearfully aiming the shotgun at him. Returned to reality, the father trembles in apology, unsure of where they even are or what's happening to them. I thought this moment was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing this shift in environment all through, I guess, Powell's control.
Yeah.
I just would like for the narrative to meet the moment because I don't really understand or care.
Or cares.
Well, because I don't know enough about the father and son. I don't know if this literally happened tonight.
Right.
I don't know if they discovered something and then the cult came after them and so they went on this thing to,
Right.
eradicate it.
Yeah.
I don't know enough of this story to know even who these people are exactly.
Yeah.
No, I agree, because I think for me at this moment is when we see the picture, I realize it's the father and son. And the whole time, again, I'll be honest, I was just like, okay, so you rescued him from something.
Right.
Because of the way he talks.
That's what he said.
And then when we get here, it's like, what? And him allowing him the time to light the flare. And like, it was in his face. And burn him with it was a little funny.
And burning the belly is also.
Yeah.
It's a choice.
I could get he doesn't want to hurt his dad.
No. He's like, Dad, come on. And I don't know. I think that because it was clear what he said earlier that I guess the cult killed the family.
Yeah.
But the way that he's blaming his son for everything, it's almost as if he knew that they were after them.
Right.
Yeah.
But then also, where the fuck were you?
Yeah.
So I'm just, But Kim stays cowering in the closet, attempting to reach Daniel over the radio. But we find his dropped belt resting on the floor of the sub-basement, Kim's cries sounding through fuzz for no one to hear. She attempts to silence her own fear, repeating for herself to shut the fuck up. But we watch as a cultist drags the heavy blade of an axe down the hall, Kim spying him through the slats of the closet door and throwing her hand over her mouth when he makes his presence known.
Halloween?
Maybe.
Yeah.
That's
Is it just like spot them?
Yeah.
Spot the influence at this point.
We're doing Carpenter's entire.
Yeah.
But down in the sub-basement, Daniel carries on alone, his axe raised as he rounds the corner into a corridor. He spies a very familiar door at the end of it, one he saw previously in a vision. But his wife's whispers of his name guide him forward, and he reaches his hand for the doorknob, twisting it open and letting himself inside the morgue. He finds Allison still lying on the examination table, with Powell nowhere in sight, and Daniel immediately drops his axe to clutch the hand of his fearful wife, assuring her that he's here now. A tear breaks free from her eye as she gazes up at him, begging him to hold her hand, and bringing it to her pregnant belly. Powell's voice suddenly disturbs Daniel's memory, revealing to him that he knows Daniel's secret, claiming that he saw it in Daniel's face the night that Allison lost their child. He saw relief. Daniel pulls his hand back from his wife, discovering now that she's covered in a mass of undulating tendrils which writhe wetly against each other, stretching across the walls and clinging to the overhead light above her. Surveying this surreal sight before him, Daniel can only whisper, "What have you done?" And Powell answers, "I've given her what she wanted. She's a mother. Isn't she beautiful?" His heartbeat thumping in his ear, Daniel reaches for the solution to Allison's misery, the fire axe. As he clutches it in his hands, Allison returns to him through a memory. That night long ago in the hospital, her voice choked with emotion as she pleads with him to stay. Daniel's silent nod acts as a promise to do just that. And with great reluctance, he brings down the axe, and we pull back through the long corridor, watching through the opaque glass of the morgue door as Daniel sets Allison free from this horror.
Jesus.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so again, he got into his mind and replayed a memory from the most traumatic night of his life.
Yeah.
But also hides the fact of what's really happened to Allison. Because he did not talk to her now at all. She's dead.
Yeah. Ugh.
So it's really fucked up if you like.
This guy's a real jerk.
But now, within an expansive temple within the sub-basement, a triangle of light suddenly glows to life at the far wall, Powell's deep voice asking, "Do you see, Daniel?" He implores Daniel to tell him what he sees, and Daniel crosses over, past covered gurneys, answering that all he sees is a monster who thinks he's God. This disappoints Powell, who notes that after all the things he's shown Daniel, he still doesn't understand.
So what exactly have you shown me that refutes monster?
Yeah.
Because I didn't see that part. I've seen a lot of monster shit.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm dark, Alyssa.
Yes.
Close. Something I thought was really amazing, the set of this temple situation that we have here, which looks incredible. They said that it was built, of course, according to Fong's designs that he made, but it was built in one of the gyms of the school.
Okay.
They said it was a room that was 60 feet long, 40 feet wide, and 17 feet tall. And all of the space is used. They created, I guess, wood and foam frames that were dusted to look like concrete and painted the room with 25 gallons of paint.
Damn.
God damn.
But that's this temple.
They did a good job.
Yeah. And it's honestly the set for one of the most iconic images from the film. I love literally everything that we're about to see.
Yeah.
Powell says that he refuses to let death be the end, and he defies God, as there are things much older than time, and they have blessed him. Daniel congratulates him sarcastically, but Powell continues that he spent his life resisting death, but now he understands he must embrace it. He'll have his beautiful daughter back, but he just needs one final thing. And suddenly, behind him, Maggie appears with a pair of disciples, burying a blade into Daniel's back. He crumbles to the floor as Powell beckons her forward to join him. She smiles eagerly, kneeling before the glowing triangle at the far wall, where through the dark, Powell reappears, now played by David Scott, free from his flesh, the skeletal muscle of his body glistening in the low light. And again, incredible work.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Very much giving Frank.
Yes.
Big time. Should be worried about getting me some skin.
But he explains that the others have all gathered to witness Sarah's rebirth, his disciples, ready for their own transformation. The robed figures now flank him on either side, as Powell promises that Daniel will experience it for himself. But first, he has to die, like his father and his son before him. So we talk about raising further questions.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that his father was a part of this cult?
That's what I feel like that's what Powell has been alluding to.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting from
And
it.
I wonder if that's why he was getting the visions and stuff.
Oh, maybe. Like it's
Okay.
through...
Right. I mean, I don't know.
And he did kind of, whenever James was talking about how evil Powell is,
Yeah.
he was like, dude, my dad hung out with him
Yeah.
all the time. Like, if he was evil. So, I mean, maybe.
That means my dad would be evil too.
But Powell then turns his attention to Maggie, reaching a hand for her face and telling her that she's done wonderfully. He urges Daniel to watch, calling him his captive audience. He then kneels before the glowing triangle, bidding Daniel once more to watch as the abyss opens itself to him. He chants an ancient language that reverberates through the room, the walls suddenly sinking backward in front of him, an unearthly light surrounding him, smoke encircling him from another world. And suddenly, through the yawning dark, a skeletal face pushes forward through organic light, and Maggie begs the Ancient Ones, "Come and bless my baby." And one last time, I do want to talk about the subtitles.
Oh, no.
Because they thought that Maggie said, "Calvin, bless my baby."
Who the hell is Calvin?
I guess he's the skeleton guy.
It also said that on TV.
Unbelievable.
I didn't even catch that.
And where's Hobbs? I don't know.
That's the real plot hole.
But Daniel watches in horror as Powell approaches Maggie, his palm resting on her forehead as he commands, "Place my daughter into this vessel." A sudden sighting of wriggling matter startles Maggie backward, crawling away fearfully over to Daniel, falling onto her back to face him. Powell orders, "Give yourself to her. Let her come to be." We watch as Maggie's stomach undulates, a creature suddenly bursting forth, ripping through her stomach and through a cascade of blood to be born.
They said that for this blood that shoots up, they just had somebody with two 32-ounce cups of fake blood sitting there waiting for the moment, and that she was like, "Just please don't get the blood in my eyes." And they were like, "Yeah, no, of course." And accidentally they said it was like they threw the blood directly into her.
Was it a prank?
Yeah, I know. What the
They said it was an accident, but he just threw it and it went. I was like, dude, that fucking sucks.
Yeah.
She had one request.
But Powell rejoices. It's her. As the creature's cries echo around them, the monstrous figure, played by Jason Deathridge and Chris Nash, rises, an abnormal quadruped, each step of its misshapen limbs thunderous against the floor. This is very esoteric, but it really reminded me of that creature that walked through the doggy door on I Think You Should Leave. The way that it's walking is like right there. And so it made me, I didn't get as scared because I was thinking of this
You're like, this
sketch.
is fine. Yeah. I saw that they had the legs on arms and they were just moving their arms on the floor.
Very cool.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it works perfectly.
Yeah.
And then you can understand why two people are playing it.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Tim Robinson aside, I do think that this design is incredible.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And when we see its face, it's one of the coolest things in the film to me.
Mm.
But its skeletal face peers down at Daniel as it drags Maggie's body behind it, still connected to her through an unearthly umbilical cord. But a shot suddenly rings out, the returning father and son blasting the creature in the spine, only for it to chase them out of the morgue and into an adjacent room. It seizes them both with long stretching tendrils, dragging them to the floor, the son able to break free, and the father blasting a final shot right through the creature's jaw. But this blast unleashes the hell of a dozen tentacles, which plunge deep into the father's chest.
What do you guys say? This thing is too OP?
Yeah. Yes.
It's like hurting you helped you? What the fuck?
I that's what I thought too. I was like, fuck.
But the father thinks quickly, seizing a nearby bottle of alcohol and dousing himself and the creature in it. He begs for his son to do it, to light them up. And with great reluctance, the son cracks open a flare. I guess he bought like a 12-pack. It's like, God damn, dude. But in the red light of the flare, the mother stands behind him, clutching an infant to her breast, the score howling as the father screams, and the son does as told, tossing the flare and igniting the pair. And again, if we knew more about this family,
Yeah.
the emotional weight of seeing that, it would have been incredible.
Yeah, because you see it for a second, and then it's like, oh, what was that?
Mm-hmm.
And then that's it.
I wonder if it's like the last thing the father thought or saw before he died.
Okay.
Like one last moment of peace before he's dead.
Yeah.
Okay.
The creature shrieks wildly in the flames as the son crawls away, seeking refuge inside of an open duct in the wall. He breaks free into another corridor, but the creature follows close behind in pursuit.
The directors said that they had originally planned on actually burning down this entire piece of the
shit.
creature, like burning it for real and filming it. But they said that they realized, and this makes more sense under the context of what T was saying about the time constraints, that setting up to burn it and burning it would have been an entire day of shooting.
Yeah.
So they were like, we couldn't afford it. So they said they did the old fashioned trick of having the creature behind a burn bar. So it's just a bar of flames. The creature's behind it and writhing around and moving.
Okay.
And it looks like it's being burned. And it's not.
Yeah, what a great illusion.
Yeah.
That's so cool. But back in the temple, Daniel crawls for an axe as Powell pontificates. We will all be saved. Everything has led to this, our apotheosis. He stands before the glowing triangle, raising his hands as the light surrounds him, declaring, I can see it all before me, the infinite astro workings. It's beautiful. His body seems to give way, evaporating into black smoke within the light of the symbol, and we rise into the flickering cosmos. But before Powell can ascend, Daniel buries the axe into his chest. But unaffected, the doctor seizes the deputy by the throat, urging him not to fight it, promising that he can give Allison to him. She's waiting for him. All he has to do is let go, and they can be together. He tells Daniel, that's a good boy. This isn't the end. But in his mind's eye, with memories of his wife finding him warmly, Daniel makes the ultimate sacrifice. He feigns agreement, only to tackle Powell, forcing them both into the unearthly light that is opened in the wall. The pair fall together into the yawning void, which suddenly seals shut upon their arrival.
I mean, I guess he had to do what he had to do.
Yeah, I would have liked to have, rooted for him more throughout this process.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, well, there's one. That's one cool thing you did.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. But the building shakes as the sun clatters clumsily through a corridor, the creature in pursuit of him. As he races forward, the walls begin to close in all around him, and he's barely able to make a narrow escape back into the upper levels of the hospital, from the bowels of this hell, and back into the real world, the walls sealing shut behind him, with no signs of the horrendous sights he was once shown. They said this idea for the collapsing hall, they initially wanted it to be so much more detailed, where the walls themselves would look so organic, almost like an esophagus, like closing.
Oh, okay.
But again, they ran into such difficulties with their schedule, and so they weren't even sure if they were going to be able to do it at all. And so they said, well, maybe we can do it in post completely. But then the art director was like, no, I have an idea. And so he arranged these flats and he fitted them, basically they're walls, but he fitted them with piano hinges and filled them with expanding foam and gore and blood and guts as much as they could.
Yeah.
And they had all hands on deck, including staff from the production office,
Damn.
operating each level of these walls as these creature performers and the actor who plays the son are running down. And so there's just a shit ton of people lining both of these walls from the outside, pushing them as they're running through. It's again,
that's incredible.
Yeah, it works.
But it's achieved.
Yeah.
Like that's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's so cool that they didn't have to abandon that idea.
Yeah, it is.
But the sun rises outside, purple light cast through the splintered trees. The sun crumbles to tears inside the hospital as he continues on, discovering Ben's body in the office. He inches his way over to the supply closet when he hears something clatter behind the door. I'm laughing because on commentary, the directors were talking. Of course, they get to this part of the film and they're explaining different things. But they're like, ooh, what's behind the door? And one of them goes, the void too. And the other one goes, don't open it. It's like, God damn.
They're like, never again.
Yeah.
But the son arms himself with a fire extinguisher before tearing the door open. And we find Kim tumbling out with her axe at the ready, only to collapse tearfully into the son's arms as she demands to know, is it over? The son breathes a shaky breath as he nods in confirmation. So before I get to the last section of this film, this was going to be the end of the film right here.
Okay.
Because they ran out of days to shoot the film. And so what happens next was completely financed by the directors because it was either we pay for it and it gets done or we do not shoot the ending of our film.
God
Oh, wow.
damn.
And so again, they put their whole ass into this.
Yeah.
But somewhere far away, somewhere not of this world, beneath darkened clouds and in the midst of an endless wasteland, rises Daniel, who stands solemnly next to Allison, the pair peering up into the sky as a large black pyramid rises above them, thunder clattering and lightning flashing as it blots out the sun. The husband reaches for the hand of his wife, grasping it firmly, the pair reunited within the void. We cut to black, and the credits roll. So, what did you guys think of The Void?
So I don't know what's going on there at the end. I don't know what it means or what it like. Is the doctor the pyramid? Is the pyramid coming to take us? Can we ride the pyramid somewhere? Is there a door to go home? What does any of this mean? It looks cool.
It does.
It does look
It looks
cool.
real cool.
I think they said that there was supposed to be a face on the bottom of the pyramid, which I think that if it was, it would kind of imply that this is Powell's domain.
Okay.
And he's like the god of this world.
Yeah.
But without it, it is pretty ambiguous. I'm not sure what it means, but maybe that's part of the fun is you kind of determining what it means for you.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
The understanding that whatever it does mean, they're facing it together.
That
Okay.
too. Yeah.
Okay.
Very
Yeah.
good. Romantic.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he deserves
Yeah,
it.
No.
But, you know,
he was an asshole.
it's happening.
Well, either way, they're stuck here.
Yeah.
I don't know. I did get a lot of enjoyment out of the practical effects. There are things that were fine and were cool. The creature design, the gore, the fucking cosmic horror is really cool. The feel of it, the atmosphere, the clouds. When we get a lot of the clouds and a lot like all of that dark shit, it's really cool. But again, some of the dark stuff, we are in the shadows for the creatures. You can use your imagination and it still does look good. It doesn't hurt it, but it did make me longing for more of that. I do want to see more creature. None of the characters I really were, like I said up top, were excited about. I mean, even once we get to Allison and then, towards the end and we hear the story, it's very sad. It's just all sad. And it's like, man, this is just more sad stuff thrown in with this crazy whatever the fuck's happening. Mitchell, I don't know why he was there. What the fuck was going on?
Yeah. You know, it honestly felt more like a cameo for the actor than an actual character.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because he was there for that little bit, and then he gets taken away. Then it might be him that we threw out. It
Maybe.
might not. We don't know, because who knows? We got his gun.
Right.
I mean...
That's good.
Kim survived. The son. That's his credit. The son.
Yeah.
He's there. I don't know, man. This was a weird movie because I'll be honest, I liked a lot of the visuals, the camera work, a lot of the stuff looks good. It is just that the characters I don't really feel anything for, and when these sad or dramatic things happen, they are sad and dramatic, but the punch isn't as strong because of the character. There's no development, and then whatever they give us, I feel like we're just told, and it's like, okay, I know you told us already. I get it. But I can see how people can like this movie. If you're just throwing it on and it's like, I'm in for a freaky time, or I'm in for some crazy shit, I'm going to see some crazy shit. And I love the disciples, the dominions, or the whatever, and we're going through this is older than God and whatever. Yes. But I want more of that. Let's get a little more of that. Let's explore that. And if this is like a Leviathan situation, let me get some of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let me get a little bit of that. And some Cenobites. If we're doing Leviathan, throw a form of Cenobite in there. But yeah. But I mean, overall, again, I did have a lot of fun with it, but I do feel like the characters and the plot really it hurt it a lot for me.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. I think I have the exact same critiques. I mean, that's where I think kind of undeniably it falls flat, is with maybe the cohesiveness of the story, or the story just being more fleshed out. Primarily with the father and son, I would really love more of what is going on there.
Yeah.
I don't mind the ambiguity of the ending. It did leave me a bit confused, but I think that maybe that's not what we're supposed to take away from it. But even throughout the film, I feel like the story itself is kind of shaky and maybe a little unfocused, because people are reacting to things that we haven't seen, or that chronologically couldn't really have happened yet, or I mean just little stuff like that. But I think that when you understand what they went through to make this film, you do forgive a little bit more little things like that, because I again, like we've said a few times, the star of the show, it is those practical effects. It is even the digital effects. And that's not something that we normally say. But I think that it's just done really well here. And I mean, down to, we were talking about the fire effect that fooled us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, the practical effects are done with such capable hands in such a way, like T was saying, with the walls being pressed in and stuff. That was all hands on deck. It's like, look, we gotta, this issue is in front of us. If everyone works together, we can figure it out. I love shit like that, where it is like old school filmmaking of, we can't call in extra money. We can't, you know what I mean? Like, we have these supplies and we can either try to make it work or we can't do it. And that spirit does elevate my feelings toward the film. Not that I ever disliked it, but when the credits started, I was like, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
What the hell was that? I love the creatures. I love the disciples as well. I think they look very, very frightening. Even the symbol, it's a fucking triangle and it becomes haunting and creepy. The set design, there's a lot of good done here. I think that the main drawbacks for me are the unfocused and at times contradictory story. And I just don't like Daniel. I don't like Daniel. And I feel like we kind of don't get a chance to really like anybody. Like, shit happens so quickly, and either we're getting kind of heavy-handed expositional dialogue of what they've been through, or we don't know what the fuck they've been through. You know what I mean? Which I guess is fine. This movie's what, 90 minutes?
Something like that, yeah.
You know?
Like that. I don't know why.
Something like that. You know, that's fine. But That's what I liked and what I didn't like. T.
No, it's fair. It's getting late.
Yeah, it is.
No, I really can't agree more with what both of you have said.
Yeah.
It's getting really late.
Yeah.
My thing is just I want to really care about these characters more.
Yeah.
You don't have to really do all that much, but just kind of stop setting Daniel up to look like an asshole.
Yes.
And again and again and again.
Yeah, because I really want to root for him, and I want there to be more of a connection between him and Allison.
Mm-hmm.
It would just work so much better if we had something where we're kind of rooting for this, or we at least feel like they want to be back together.
Yeah.
Because it really kind of doesn't. They have this small conversation in the office over the coffee, which is interrupted, but it just feels kind of like, okay, well, we're being cordial again for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
Yeah.
There's not this anything where he, the wedding ring on his finger or something makes it to where, he puts it on whenever he gets into the cruiser, or he's looking at it.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Or there's a picture of Allison somewhere in his wallet or something,
Something quiet.
Yeah. Because it just, when we even get them in the room together for the first time, I would never guess that was even part of their story.
Yeah.
It just seems like, there's this one look, and through that, I kind of glean nothing.
Yeah.
But one character that I think they fucking ate with, Dr. Powell.
Yeah.
Everything about Dr. Powell, I love this very much. I think that he is so incredible with how he looks at the end, his performance throughout, the mythology that is kind of embedded in his character and his motivations for doing what he's doing. He's really the only character that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
He is reaching into the dark in hopes of pulling his daughter out of it.
Yeah.
It's tragic.
Mm-hmm.
And, he does a lot of very horrible things, but the reason for him doing it to him is a good reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, it's kind of weird. We don't talk about how James is just a straight up victim throughout all of this.
Yeah.
But he is treated like shit
The whole time.
Yeah.
Gets his ass kicked. He's murdered unceremoniously.
Yeah.
But he has closer ties to this cult than seemingly anyone.
Yeah. That's true.
So he should kind of stick around and at least, lend some kind of knowledge to the group who really knows nothing.
Yeah, because even when they're questioning him and he's like, I did you guys a favor by killing him. Why wasn't it? Why?
Yeah.
Why wasn't that asked?
They're just like, quiet, dog.
Yeah.
And then he defends Powell after that weird phone call.
I know.
He's like, look, now Dr. Powell's a lot of things, but he's not a religious sex fiend. It's like, hey, what? I don't know. And the father and son, there was such a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there is some imagery that is really, really effective emotionally, but it, like you said, it just doesn't carry that weight because they didn't give it the time.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, we can slide into ratings. I think those are all the downsides to me for the film. All the positives for me outside of Powell just being awesome is this technical work.
Yeah.
Everything they did, creature design, production design, the cinematography, and the fact that they had to change so many things on the fly because of this shrinking schedule.
Yeah.
This limited budget. This is a very inspirational thing, this film.
Yeah.
This idea of an independent spirit and you wanting to make this film and you going through hell to do it.
Yeah.
It's really remarkable, and you have to tip your hat to that.
Yep.
But it's, and on one side, when it comes to the writing, it's like, the narrative kind of falters and there are things that contradict themselves and don't really make a lot of sense. I appreciate some of the ambiguity, but it's like, God damn.
Yeah. You're pushing it.
Yeah. But the writing, as far as some of these lines, Powell, the entire film has really good lines.
Yeah.
And they're really impactful, and they're just like one of those things that you're just watching a film and you're like, God damn, that's really cool.
Yeah.
It's really, really good. But I mean, I don't know. And I love the influences of the film and being able to see them and them expressing their appreciation for these films and telling you that they did that.
Right.
But I don't know. I think this is a difficult one, honestly, when it comes to giving it a score.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I've settled on one that I think works for me. So out of 10 cryptically cosmic creatures, I am going to give The Void 6.5 cryptically cosmic creatures out of 10. I was going to give it a 6, but I feel like there is so much here that really is so impressive and so much better than you would expect with the story of the production. The fact that they were able to pull off so much and for so much of it to look so good, it's a really, really remarkable thing.
Yeah.
But I will now open the floor to you.
No, I can get behind that. I like I said, I know I did say, like you said, all the things, but it is true. What they did with it, learning about it, that's fucking impressive. Like, that's really cool. And it is, we always talk about how practical effects for the win. And them doing it and learning about that, it's like, oh, yeah, you guys. And it really, I'll be honest, for me, it was refreshing, because I know everybody says about how, oh, movies are hard, but whatever. But them really being candid and being like, look, this was the biggest pain in the ass we've ever fucking done for anything.
I appreciate that.
But they were like glad that they did it, but it was an honest, this is a fucking nightmare, but we're still doing it. That is like, okay, I can get behind the honesty and I can respect that, because this couldn't have been easy to make at all. And for them to still do it and like talk about it openly like that, it's like, okay, dude, I give you a lot of respect for that, because what we got, yeah, there is, again, the story and all that, but goddamn, like the technical side and everything else, bravo, dude. So I think for me, on a scale from 1 to 10 cryptically cosmic creatures, I'm also going to give The Void a 6.5. I was thinking of a 6, but again, like you said, I'll give it that extra half a point learning about all that. And it was like, damn, you guys really did. You put your foot in it. But I mean, and something else, you know, you didn't, but
You kept your foot out.
Yeah. One sock on, one sock off. That's all right.
You're doing the hokey pokey a little bit. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with y'all more. I think that we've been in agreement, I think, with the things that worked for us, things that didn't work for us.
Yeah.
And I will continue that agreement right down to the end. And on a scale from 1 to 10 cryptically cosmic creatures, I will also give The Void 6.5 cryptically cosmic creatures out of 10.
You know, it's almost like a triangle.
Okay.
Oh, we're being taken away. We're in the void now.
The abyss.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's all from us at Pod Mortem. What would you rate The Void, and what should we watch next? Let us know on Instagram at the Pod Mortem. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and like our Stairhole Productions page on Facebook. Be sure to follow each of us on Instagram and Blue Sky at TravisMWH, at Blood and Smoke, and at JuggaloDaddy84. Thanks again to Original Cinematic for sponsoring this week's episode. Please consider pledging to our Patreon, where you'll gain access to over 250 hours of bonus content, our monthly schedule, our Discord server, and the opportunity to help us decide which films to cover. And if you're looking for Pod Mortem and Stairhole Productions merch, follow the link in our episode notes. Stay tuned until after the music for a special thank you to our Wendigo Getter patrons. And remember, there's nothing wrong with curiosity, but if your quest for answers leads you into the abyss, beware, you just might find what you're looking for. Until next time. Thank you for staying tuned. We want to give a very special thank you to all of our Wendigo Getter patrons.
Woo! Yeah.
Excellent work. A very special thank you to Chris Ontiveros, Kristen Lofton, Megan Martinez, Kimberly Bass, Sophie Hodson, Anthony Jerome M., Jordan Nash, Kent Morton, Lala Tamez, Travis and Nisa Hunter, Miguel Myers, ATX, Jennifer Perez, Allison O'Neill, Carissa, TJ and Angie Bronson, Andy Teague, Applin Ontiveros, Karima Rhodes, Kimberly Kleindienst, Bobby Holmes, Donna Eason, JD Rizak, Molly Gerhardt, Armand Sposto, Aaron Aguirre, Eggy, William Barry, Charity Oxner, Amanda Six, Mandy Rainwater, Jordan Roberts, Dylan, Spencer Montalvo, Pancake the Panda, John Ramos, Michael Newting, Alexis Roberts, Itzy M, Gary Horton, Kate Lamp, Carlos and Sydney, Jessica Hunter, Helena Rudder, Alan Johnston, Mariah, Livy Fun, Scott Troutman Wise, Mozzie Bear, Dave Burke, Emma Hagel Kissinger, Valerie G, Emiliana, CB, Taylor Santana, Will Lewison, Angelique, Smelly Poo Poo Head, Beth Bauer, Cookie, Esperanza J, Jason Kyle OKC, Joshua Rumley, Danielle Peralta, Sawyer Reese Farr, Sahara, Girl That's Scary, Cassandra, Andrea Simmons, Ashley Higuera, William and Xxena Rush, Ryan Brom, Megan Ochoa, Laura Lassiter, Eileen O, Marissa E, Henry F, Megan M, Strangely Sarah, Christy Beck, Nancy and Andy, Amanda Lopez, Andy Terrell, Erica Morin, Tris Wynn, K.87, Mariah Jensen, Carrie A, Lonnie Lono, Powell, Kayla E, Maggie H, Murder Stina, Kristen Marcy,
Ori 81 Barigua, looked like that one girl, Bog Boy, Felnez 63, Alita Pui, Probably My Jugs, Kate Thackeray, Wade Pack, A Lizard, Bay J, Jay Rich, Topher Williams, Elena Metler, Valerie K, Christy Lee Kruger, Professor of Humanities, Laura McCarricker, Naomi, Josh Smith, Autumn Green, Abby Kopp, Crystal 831, Skank Sinatra, Morgan Alexander, Tony Osteen, Julie Fredborg, Rihanna S., Daniel Taylor, Anna Kate, Heather Ortiz, Kim H., August, Jenny May, Old School Cool, Malik Caselli Armstrong, Scarly D., Toya Shea, Katie, Martin Shaw, Star, Tyler J., Cam Davies, Patrick Hoagland, Raven, Wesley Tart, Kristen Jackson, Jacob Nordberg, Samantha, Damian Grant, Half Price Horror, Clemmy, Nisi Nay, Jason X Rules, Aaron Norman, Victoria Smith, Patricia A. Graham, Erasmo Pena, Danielle Wright, Chuck D., Tabitha Thomas, Connie Lingus, Richard Murray, Irene, Sally Slater 52, Jordan McCarthy, Rosalind Harnias, Emily Rance, Amy, Lisa and Kathy, Mike H., Christian Sadler, Hannah, Sarah Jack, Casey L., Evelyn Knight, Paula Garcia, Nikki M., Ghastly Grandad, Megan and Alexandra Saldivar, Lisa Sykes, Kelsey Niemeyer Cook, Martina LaForce, JG, Morgan Novello, Ashley, Alex M., Brandon C., Gordon Sutherland, Georgia Renland, Ashley Poe, Diana Joe, Connor Gormley, Carrie Parker, Katie Face, Jane Pillsbury, Caitlin Asher, Mia Franz,
Pooh Bear, Spicy Caldera, This is the Zodiac Speaking, Jason the Ghost, Moldy Tic Tac, Brian Ward, Tanner Rutgers, Gremlin Keeper 22, Sam Spade 666, Veronica, Kristen Rhodes, Daniel Laurent, Carmito, TVR, A Very Sweepy Baby, Nicholas Rage, A Lazy Boy, Nicola Williams, Sadison Miles, Stu Corbett, Brick O, Jaden Nicole, Lost Fan 08, George L. Robertson, Mercedes X Bleeple, Joe Miller Apologist, Jalen Perry, Cool Trainer Elijah, Mrs. Bloomingdale, Sierra Duncan, Renee Hart, Meg Like Sleep, Final Boy, Alani, Elizabeth Thompson, Joey, Michelle Nicole, The Lipstick Demon, Less Than Zombie, Franklin Bad, Sean Reeves, The Kryptonian Orphan, Melissa B., Elena C., Jillian Mumford, Evil Chris, Rexterm Raul, Witchy Poop 19, Brian Avers, Danielle Milton, Instant Horror, Just Give Me One Wish Like Ray J, Skin Deep, Christian Salvatierra, Ashay Guevara, Aaron Mr. Clean Bouchard, Henny Kravitz, Francisco Almos, Paunchy Cat, Christina Perez, Buddy Boy Mac, Revamped a Rewatch Podcast, Sarah Coolidge, Show Livia, Film Fiend, Catherine Clark, Brandon Brown, Jessica Hernandez, Camry, Amy Shipley, Like the Donut, Jack, Alyssa Muskites, Jennifer Hager, Knox Nocturnal, Byron Pittman, and Sophia Mason. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
We appreciate each and every one of you, and we can't thank you enough for making us feel like stars.
Yeah.
It's cosmic.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Until next time.